Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? This your girl Tiffany here, live in effect. So tonight we're gonna get into the conversation about foundational African American, the origin of foundation African American. And as you can see, I got brother Ngozi here. He the one that came up with the term,
Yeah.
and it sounds pretty legit. So we're gonna talk about the origins of who the African Americans are and the African diaspora, and we're just gonna go from there. So I'm gonna let Ngozi talk.
Hey,
It's your mic.
hey, how you doing? Peace and love to the panel, and thank you, Tiffany Queen, for allowing me to come on. It's been a long time. We built a minute ago, and I appreciate you for allowing me to come on. Um, I want to do this show today because there's a lot of back and forth going on about FBA, which is Foundation of Black Americans, and for those FBA members who disregard, their African heritage or the people that they descend from. Um, And the reason why I came up with
And goes, can't you speak a little louder?
yeah. I'm sorry. I said the reason why I came up with FAA, which is Foundational African American, it is to oppose to the ideology of just being black or foundational Black American. But we have an identity that we had before being described as black. You were only called black because you descend from people from sub-Saharan Africa, primarily Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Mali, Togo, Cameroon, Benin, Togo, Cameroon, all those places. And the people that we descend from that was slapped together to become this ideology or this thing called black was, Mandinka, Belinke, Bemelinke, Tikar, Fulani, Wolof, Susu, the Ashanti or the Khan, the Twi speakers of Ghana, um, and the different ethnic groups there's so many that I can say that represents who we are and the combination of how we became who we are. Um, and that's what it is. So the history just don't start in. Could you,
Nah, I can't really hear you.
I was saying the history just don't start in 1565 or 1540, 1565 or 1546. It doesn't just start there or coming into the first regions of Jamestown, Virginia, or crossing through New York in the first phase. Our history starts on a continent before it even lands on this portion of the world. And the reason why we are called and described as black is because we come from those people on the continent of Sub-Saharan Africa, and it shouldn't be forgotten. So that's why I came up with foundational African Americans. And people that's under the act, when we talk about African Americans or talking to somebody continental, I always say, who you talking about? An AA? An AA is a code for African American. So that's why I say FAA, Foundational African Americans.
Okay, okay. So I'm glad that you have broke that down. Now we're gonna get into the tribes a little bit. All right. So like talk about a little bit, expound a little bit more on the tribes that we come from. Like expound a little bit more on them.
Okay, well, if you study the rice fields that they had when they was cropping, dealing with rice, a lot of the people that they had over here first was getting snatched from Senegambia. Well, not just first, but I'm going to say that a lot of people that they were taking was from Senegambia. Especially if you study the history of Louisiana at one time, you look at jollof rice and different things. The rice that we eat, jambalaya, or whatever. You can see a customs that's coming from in kinship to Senegal. Matter of fact, if you look up one of the flags that the African Americans made in Louisiana, one of the countries that they had on there was Senegal. So a lot of those people were Fulani, Wolof, and also even Mandinka. But the Fulani were definitely people that was snatched and brought over here. You can actually look up the Fulani Americans, and you can see multiple groups, over 8 Fulanis who were major figures that were snatched and brought here. Also the Mandinka that worked on those rice fields. When you went to Carolina, you see the history of the Bantus who were snatched from Cameroon, and you can also see the history of the Mandinka that was also there. And if you study the syntax and cognates of Gullah Geechee people and look at the dialects that they speak, you can see in kinship to those people that we descend from. So you go to Virginia, you see the Igbos. The Igbos played a major role in Virginia. You also find the last African group that came over here, even a little bit after 1865, that they had an underground slave trade still, was Yoruba. Yoruba started selling each other out. Matter of fact, the first set of Yoruba that was snatched was when the Yoruba were in Benin, Togo, and the Fanti people were selling them at one time. But also, you see the Fanti people being sold over here. So I'm saying you got the Fante, you have the Yoruba, you have the Susu, you have the Igbos, you have the Asan, you have the Mandinka, the Malinke people who are also groups of Mindi people.
Ngozi?
I'm sorry, Tiffany. I hate when people call me and I'm trying to have a conversation. But you have multiple groups that were snatched and brought over here, and I can name of 10 right now. I can even go further. So we know about the Susu, we know about the Fulani, we know about the Wolof, we know about the Mandinka, we know about the Malinke people who are also Amendi people. The Bimilike are also Amendi people. Um, the Bantu speaking groups in Cameroon and a few in Angola, a few people from a few people that was transported to Mozambique. That's why on your DNA test you see little segments of East Asian DNA in you. You like, where did that come from? If you know the history, a lot of slaves were snatched from Mozambique. Yeah, I don't know if you was aware of that. Um, Also, the people in Ghana, you know, the Ashanti people, aka Akan people who speak Twi. A lot of them were snatched. Who else? It's just so many I can name. But I just know that at the end of the day, all those people, the reason why we are called black is because they looked at those people and described them as that, and that's all they had once they lost their ethnic groups. See, the lineage is the lineage. The lineage that we represent is AA, African American. That's what we are right now. We're foundational African Americans. But what we come from is multiple ethnic groups from Western Central Africa who was already the same group of people. Yes, there was a distant. Yes, there were genetic drift between them because those people were set apart for certain times. But if you go back further in time, all those people are part of the larger Niger Congo speaking group. You know, Wolof is part of Niger Congo. Mandinka is also in kinship with part of Niger Congo. Fulani is part of Niger Congo. The Yoruban languages, you have Alatic Congo, you have Volta Congo, and you have Benue Congo. Benue Congo goes to the Bantu languages, which is the last subset of Niger Congo. So if you bridge all that shit together and go back past the distance and stuff that they slightly dispersed from, they all go back to Sahelian populations. And if you go back further in time to the Sahelian populations, you're going to find yourself in an old green Sahara coming from Onanian populations. So at the end of the day, you and me represent a confederation of something that was already that was already drifted apart from a single point, put back together through force here in the northern portions of the diasporas of North America.
Okay. So now you mentioned the language family, right? About the like the Niger Congo and all that. It's kind of off topic, but can't you explain the relationship between the South Africans and let's see, those in Southern Africa, particularly in South Africa, and those in West Africa and those in the diaspora as far as the Bantu expansion is concerned.
Well, the South Africans, if you're talking about the Bantu speakers in South Africa, from the Zulu, the Aglia, or those groups, or even going further towards, all the way down from Zimbabwe all the way down to modern day South Africa, where you find the Zulu groups. Anywhere you find a Bantu speaker, their base root comes from people that expanded out of Cameroon. Right? There was a Bantu expansion. And
And Gozi, can you speak a little louder?
I say, could you hear me? Could you hear me? Could you hear me?
Yeah, speak a little louder.
I say, could you hear me now? Could you hear me now?
A little bit.
So what I'm trying to say is that
Okay.
any of those groups that you see from South Africa to Tanzania to Uganda, any Bantu speaker has a common base root that they split from, which came from near Cameroon, from the Bantu expansion. The Bantu expansion is said to have occurred 4,000 years ago, 4 to 3,000 years ago, and they went into multiple directions. All those people are part of the larger Bendu Congo family. And within the Bendu Congo or the Bantu language family, they're part of the larger Niger Congo language family. And when you talk about the Niger Congo language family, it's just not Bantu languages. Bantu languages is like the last subset within a larger family of Niger Congo, which is the macro family of the bridge that all these people diverge from. You also have a Lactic Congo. A Volta Congo. Volta Congo is Igbo, Asan, Yoruba, and then before that you have a Lactic Congo. And Even the Mandinka language, which some people say is a language isolate, is still in kinship to something that was a bridge between early Proto-Niger Congo and independent Mende languages. The only reason why they say that now because the Mandinka, the tones of Mende is distinct from the other languages, yet and still a lot of the syntax and cognates of the language still has a bridge together. So that's why some people say that the Mende languages is a either an early sister group, a big sister group to Proto Niger Congo, or it's the base of something that's close to Proto Niger Congo that first split off and became its independent branch, but closer to the older Proto Niger Congo languages that exist prior.
Okay. Oh, my bad. Okay.
Yeah.
So we gotta address a comment here. This comment was unwarranted, but at the same time, I'm going to address it. It says this person said Pan Africanism is dead. Black Americans have moved on. To
Well,
that person that made the comment, maybe you moved on, but there's people who still reconnecting back to their roots.
here's the
They're
thing.
repatriating back to the continent.
I mean, here's the thing. African Americans ain't on shit. I mean, let's just be honest. You're not even unified in your own communities and neighborhoods. I mean, I got people. If I, like I said on Sanjeta's show, it's people. If I catch them right now and it's up and it's stuck, it's not going nowhere. So for anybody to say we unified, no, that's not true. I live in Chicago and I can go to any other place. There's certain people on one side of the street that can't even walk, come across each other. Niggas off 63rd can't come in contact with niggas off 64th. And if you go to the west side, you see differences. If you go to the north side, you see differences. So there is no pan anything in reality. See, Pan Africanism is for those who want to live by Pan Africanism. If you don't want to live by, go about your business. But we're not on one accord anyway. So that's why it's not for everybody. Because to be honest with you, I don't want it to be for everybody. There are real ops amongst us. There are ops on the continent of Africa, and there are ops living in your neighborhood. So for anybody to say African Americans have moved on, how? You're not together economically. The educational system that you're part of is fucked up. You're not structured in your family. What you got it together at? How many of the population that we see in the numbers is millionaires amongst our people? You sound ridiculous. We're not even in this shit collectively. So that's misinformation. So anybody that talk about that is pseudo. So I don't even take people like that serious.
Facts, facts, facts. And you are absolutely right. And people, it seems like we don't want to address the internal issues that we have in our community. But it's so easy that you got individuals getting online and debating back and forth.
You can't
And
you can't take them serious, Queen. I mean, these people are ridiculous. They find anything to find ways to separate themselves from one another. So for anybody to say people how they moved on, and you got people like you and me and other groups who still trying to uplift it and talk about it. So they have not moved on. Because if we moved on, we'll all be on one accord talking the shit that whoever is talking about. So we're not on one accord. So that's misinformation.
that's a fact. That's a fact. We're now on one accord, and you can tell, like you said. I mean, I can go through a list of things that's going on. Um, and we could talk about classism.
Oh,
You know
absolutely.
what I'm saying? We could talk about the classism in our community. Like you said, uh, depending on what side of town you're from, certain people may not can't come to certain neighborhoods because of what side of town they from, or what clique they represent, or whatever the case may be.
I mean,
You know what I'm saying?
we not on one accord. I can't say African Americans have moved on. Pan Africanism is dead. How? Pan? Do you know what the term pan means? I want people to look up what pan means. That's not for anybody. We are not on one accord collectively. And what's interesting is that the African American itself, whether he is outside, he's not on the continent no more. He's part of the larger diaspora and the further northern portions of the diaspora. But guess what? The African American is an African that created his own culture. We have an exterior African culture. We have our own vernacular of English called AAVE, African American Vernacular English. We have our own dialect of English. We have our own customs and things that we created within America. We are American. You don't get rid of America because African Americans is part of the foundation of this country. You'll be a fool to give it up. But African American within itself is a subset or exterior culture of Africa outside of the continent. You don't need the continent to be an African. It was Africans that was enslaved. It was Africans that found a new way to create something new. It was Africans that found a new way to create a new identity out of nowhere. So that still makes our culture fully African. It's just as African as any ethnic group in the continent of Africa. And you'll be a fool to deny that because it was Africans going through the shit to create the change. So you don't need the continent to be African. That's what people don't understand. We're not here to kiss people on the continent's ass, and they shouldn't kiss our ass. That's just what it is.
And here's the thing, see, so people like to say they want to delineate themselves from being African. But as you stated, the reality is you cannot delineate yourself because at the end of the day, genetically, that's who you are. That's most of your genetic makeup.
I mean, they walk around here with the Duffy gene. Black men are still highest at having prostate cancer because of the sub-Saharan African genes. If you study the reason why we have prostate cancer at the highest rate, or we're more prone to it, is because a lot of if, I'm into biology. So if you study the diseases that we have, a lot of it comes from populations in sub-Saharan Africa because of the genes that we have that developed there. ADR125, sickle cell to help fight off malaria, all types of mutations I can go through, or diseases or conditions that we have. That's because of our in reference to what we come from on the continent of Africa. And you can't get past it. Even the Duffy gene. How many of us lost the Duffy gene? So when you start studying genetics, it doesn't matter what you say and what you think. The reason why you function the way you function immunely is because you are a African. It doesn't matter if you have some subtle admixture at 10 to 20%, or some people, if you were the Gullah Geechee from Carolina, only 5% or 2 to 5% European genes. At the end of the day, your overall DNA composition is highly from population groups or groups of people from sub-Saharan Africa, whether you range from 55% to 90%. And some of us are blessed, like my sister Tiffany, she's damn near 90%. So with that being said, the overall majority of your genetics represents a population from sub-Saharan Africa, and that's why you're called black, because you come from black people who exist in sub-Saharan Africa. The first people to be called black, from Bilal el Sudan when the Arabs came in, to Negro when the Portuguese went into Angola and Cameroon and started fighting, to the goddamn Nigeria. Nigeria itself means nigger land or black land. Look up the lady that gave it its name before the Tories talked about the Black River. When the British came in to colonize them, look up this history of in the history of Nigeria. It's a recent name. But what is Niger in reference to? Think about it. Black. So whether it's Bilal el Sudan, whether it's Negro, what the Portuguese called the people of Angola, or whether it's Nigeria, regardless, it's in remnants to blackness. And the reason why you was called that, the shit translated or transferred from Negro to nigger to the cool tone that everybody uses now, which is nigger. Same shit. Black, black, black.
Yeah. You know what? Look at this comment. China has African roots. Would you push Pan-Africanism on them?
China has African roots from all non-Africans that dispersed the continent 70,000 years ago. They went through a lot of genetic drift. They went through a lot of mutations like all non-Africans. So every human being go back to Africa 70,000 years ago. It was only a small population of people who left out of Africa 70,000 years ago. But since then, there has been bottlenecks. There has been genetic drift to put them in further distance from mutations that they have from outside of the continent, compared to motherfuckers like us who only been outside of the continent for 5 to 200 years. Remember, the first wave of people that was brought here was 500 years ago, but there was still slaves that was being sent here. Slavery was only abolished in 1865. And even after 1865, there was still underground slave trades going on. So that means that all of your ancestors wasn't here 500 years ago. Some of your ancestors only been here 230 years. Think about it. You can't talk about a Chinaman who's been out of Africa for 90,000 years or 70,000 years, or a European who's been out of Africa for 70,000 years. All those non-African populations come from a small population that left out 70,000 years ago, and they have a lot of genetic drifts, and they went through a lot of bottlenecks compared to you who only been outside of the continent for as early as 500 to 400 years, and as late as to 230 years ago or 200 years ago. So you don't have enough genetic distance or genetic drifts or further bottlenecks to occur to make you distinct from a nigga in Nigeria or a nigga in Ghana. The only thing that you got that's separate from them that put you in an intermediate scale on the PCA, the principal component analysis, is the Northwestern European blood. That's at 10 to 15 to 20%, and some people up to 30%, at lowest 2%. I mean, we're not gonna talk genetics. It's the wrong person that Tiffany got on her show to talk to because I can do this shit all day.
Oh yeah, I know you can go in. You can really go in about genetics. Like you can really go in on genetics. And when I say you go in for sure. So anybody that want to talk genetics, if y'all want this smoke, y'all welcome to get this smoke. Because I mean, this is somebody who's been studying this for a long period of time. You know what I'm saying? And it's somebody that I know for a long time who actually got this information
I
down
mean,
pat.
I mean,
So I mean, if you want to try your luck, you can go ahead.
I mean, even when you
Um,
look at the sisters of even some men with CCC, the scolding alopecia. Those traits is a reminder and heritage. It's just not from the chemicals that the sisters is using, but the trait is because of the type of hair texture, the condition, and the heritage that we have from population groups in sub-Saharan Africa. We can get into diseases, and it'll let you understand why you function or why the cells or your immunity functions the way it functions in your body. It's because it's a remembrance to you being a sub-Saharan African.
okay. So now, all right. So now, let's get into the concept about the Caribbean culture because you mentioned earlier about the Haitian and the people in Louisiana. I think you mentioned on that. So, it's and I'm glad you brought that up because Tariq Nasheed put something on his Twitter page. He was basically saying that Louisiana is not Caribbean. When he said New Orleans is not Caribbean, and I mean anybody in their right mind know that New Orleans is not Caribbean, of course, but you know that there's a connection. So
So,
can't you please
so,
explain it for the listening audience?
so we have to go into the Louisiana Purchase and history and understand
Can't
what
you,
happened. We
can't
have
you speak a little louder?
we have to get into the history of the Louisiana Purchase, or when the French sold New Orleans into the United States. We got to remember when America was established. America is what 247 years old. 1776, I think, is when it represented where its independence was represented. We
I'm sorry, Ngozi, I can't really hear you.
I said America is, if I'm not mistaken, America is 247 years old. America was recognized as an independent country in 1776. This is why it's important for brothers and sisters to stay in school and study the Constitution and study real American history. When you study real American history, you learn about the Louisiana Purchase and what happened in Louisiana. And we understand that the French, who also controlled Louisiana at one time, also controlled Haiti at one time. The French could not control the borders. Haiti just kicked their ass. They couldn't control a port the same way with Spain. The reason why Spain lost to Mexico and other countries when Hispanic-speaking countries became independent because Spain control the ports. Spain got beat by Mexico. That's why Mexicans celebrate their day when they beat their forefathers and became an independent nation. It's the same thing that happened with the United States. The French could not control the borders no more. And at one time, you had Haitians who were scouts. That's why Dusable found the city of Chicago. The French controlled a lot of territory in the United States, the same way the Dutch controlled New York at one time. The different European population groups control most of the countries in America. Europe literally brought its identity to the New World, which is the Americas. The Spaniards had all of Central and South America and some portions of North America from Texas all the way to Florida at one time, but the Spaniards lost. The French controlled a lot of territory here. The British got in the game and beat everybody. You have to study American history to understand what happened with populations in America and what happened. So at one time period, Haitians were being transferred from Haiti to Louisiana because it was French territory. And that's in the earlier phases. And then in 1824, more Haitians was going into Louisiana. The same way Haitians started helping. Also, some of them also went into Atlanta. People don't know that history. They fought in one of the wars in Atlanta and was absorbing African American culture. Not just that. Dusable found
Ngozi, you out.
Chicago was an onion field. It literally means if you study Chicago, you got to study the history of what happened. It was a Haitian man named Dusabo who was part Haitian who found it because they had Haitian scouts. So Haiti,
Ngozi, you went out again.
somebody keep calling me. Haitians played a major role with the history of the United States in a lot of elements, and nobody can get past that. Period.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know if you guys was able to pick up on what he was saying. He was basically saying that he got into the concept about the French taking over Louisiana and how they lost Louisiana to the British, and he also mentioned about
The Louisiana Purchase.
how I'm sorry.
The Louisiana Purchase. When they start selling their land, they start selling Louisiana. I think they sold Louisiana to the northern for the northern groups for 50 cents. If you study the history, because they couldn't control the territory. The French started getting beat up by everybody. So when they couldn't control the ports, their portion, and also control this land when things were being regulated because they already had war with other European groups. We have to study the history of America. These white boys was fighting each other. It's just the British won before the United States broke away from the British and became independent and became its own independent nation. Then you had different Europeans, here going against one another, but yet still creating a new system, which is the New World System that was set here, which formed the United States. The 13 stripes represent the 13 colonies. The 50 stars represents the 50 states. If you study the law, study Constitution.
Yeah, and you know what? And by you mentioned about the Europeans, people don't know the real history behind the Civil War. So let's get into that. Let's break down the Civil War. So the Civil War is nothing more than basically white people versus white people, the northern whites versus the southern whites, because they wanted to have federal control over this land. Okay, this is when the federal government was going through the. That's when the federal government was developing, coming into existence. So who's gonna have federal jurisdiction over this land, the North or the South? So it got so bad to the point that the northern folks came down south and they went into southern cities like Atlanta, for example, burnt down a good 95% of Atlanta. So so yeah, it was like it was a war between white folks. So it's like they were pretty much banging on each other to see who's gonna have what land and control over the resources, etc. And you gotta remember that the North was United States of America and the South was the Confederate States of America. Anything you want to add on and go?
I mean, that's exactly what was going on. The Europeans was fighting each other before the
I
United
can't hear
States.
you.
That's exactly what happened. He said the Europeans was fighting each other before they came here. When you study Queen Isabella of Spain, when you study Christopher Columbus, who had a bunch of people that came here, the Spaniards who was from jails, who had to leave the country to become navigators with him in order to found a new world. If they wanted freedom, they had to join the camps of what was being, what was being created in the new world. White people was fighting each other for a very long time. They had no unification. The unification of white people is very new if you study white history. It's just not no ancient black on black crime. White boys been fighting each other for a very long time. And to this day, if you go to proper Europeans look at white Americans as Yankees because they don't even have a consistent lineage like we don't. The thing about America is a cesspool of nuts, right? Just like in the African American community, you can
Hey,
find a place.
the people in the chat say they can't hear you.
I said just like in the I said the thing about the New World is a cesspool full of mutts. And if you study Europe, right, to this day, Europeans call the New World Europeans Yankees. Only in America you find populations like if you ask the average white person what is he mixed with, he's gonna say he's Irish and German mixed. If you're from the Midwest, a lot of German people there, but they also mix with Scottish people. A lot of people in the South are old descendants of British who mix with Irish and Scot Irish. You go in other areas, you got the Italians. If you study, white people are not the same, but they're all mixed up here, just like the Black American is mixed up. The Black American is Yoruba mixed with Mandinka, mixed with Fulani, all types of shit. All of us went through a type of creolization compared to the nations that we come from. So, but when you study the histories of Europe, they were fighting each other for a very long time before the New World was set. And when they came over here fighting. When the other groups of people, like when the British took over the ports and took over the boats, they got in the game and created the navy systems that was able to infiltrate and beat the Spanish. They had an old time war going on. The French started going back and forth, getting beaten, getting pushed back. It's a lot of things and a lot of stuff that we have to understand. That's why it's important to study the Constitution for those who are in school. Or if you don't do it, study the Constitution and see what set the rules for what happened to set the United States and what this system really is.
Mm, yeah, yeah, that's really deep. So, um, what do you say as far as how, I mean, okay, how can I put this question? Now, we also have differences with cultural practice here in America amongst Black people.
Absolutely,
And you find it very common, especially here in the South.
absolutely.
So, in the South, like in certain parts of the South, there's certain cultural tradition. Like
Correct.
if you go to Tennessee, they have their own cultural tradition that's different from those in Georgia. If we go to Chicago, right, they have something that's very different from those from Detroit. And
Correct.
then, and also we can see that Chicagoans, right, by you being in Chicago, we got a lot of folks from the area who has ancestors that came from Mississippi and Tennessee area. Let's build
Correct.
on that.
That's part of the Great Migration. The South is what gave birth to us in the North. So, for example, people from Chicago tend to be from Mississippi, Alabama, in some cases Louisiana. People from California tend to be from Texas, in New Orleans or Louisiana. People from New York, a foundational African American New York people, they tend to come from Carolina and Virginia and Georgia. And Georgia played a role in a lot of populations. Georgia, especially, a lot of people from Georgia and Carolina migrated into New York, Baltimore, and Jersey. I'm talking about for foundational African Americans, not the ones who come from the Caribbean later, right? That's just the element of the different groups that went on in a great migration. The South is the foundation for African Americans. And before that, populations came from the continent, and some groups came from the Caribbean because the Caribbean means cannibal. Those are just slave ports. So sometimes it was more easier and access for slaves to get crossed through the Caribbean in order to come through the North. But some African Americans come straight from Africa into the South, going into Virginia or going into Carolina in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we can do
Wow.
that. I mean, it's really
Huh?
amazing. Really amazing when they study their history. I think African Americans from everywhere should embrace the South. And I think our brothers from the South should really embrace their roots because the people in the South, y'all still have a lot of the base foundation of that African flavor. I mean, hip hop couldn't even stay in New York that long. I mean, we could talk about hip hop too. But even if people want to talk about it starting in the Bronx from a few Afro Caribbeans, Afro Latinos, and African Americans, it still has to be transferred into the South from Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas, where the flavor of the United States come from, especially amongst us as AAs or foundational African Americans.
Oh yeah, we can get into the origin about hip hop. We can really get into the origin about that because people make the argument and then they say that the Puerto Ricans and the Caribbeans didn't have anything to do with the hip hop culture. And the best people to ask was those who were there. And majority of those individuals that was around during the formation of hip hop, right? They're still here. They're here to tell the stories. But you got certain people that want to rewrite the narrative like, no, those Caribbean people had nothing to do with it. Those Puerto Rican had nothing to do with it.
Well,
And
only yeah, only a foundational Black American to say something stupid like that because hip hop is a Bronx thing, and whoever was living amongst the Bronx having those parties, whether it was Afro Caribbean kids or direct African American kids or Puerto Ricans who was there at the same time, they were there. So we got to think about the history of hip hop. We talking about 1971. I know about the guy who made the song "Here Comes the Judge," who was like a pre element of hip hop. But there are five elements to hip hop. You got to know all the elements. So we have the elements to hip hop. We talk about going from the dude who made "Here Comes the Judge." I think that was in '69. Then you start talking about these other kids having these parties. Cool Herc, DJ Flash or whatever it was. Then you talk about these Puerto Rican kids who was doing the dancing from what they were doing in Latin America. You can see it in Latin America from what the West Africans brought into Latin America and gave to the populations amongst them, creolizing their own world before coming here, the spray painting and all that. You know, um, the person that's dealing with the poetry or the rhyme. You know, you can see a lot of the people in Jamaica. They have something that I forgot what it was called, but they have something when they get on the mic and they start doing that. But poetry is also, let's talk about the foundation of it all. Hip hop bass element when it comes to dealing with funk and all that prior before. You know, when they start remixing and doing different things when the DJ was turning. But the flavor and the swag of this poetry, you can find it all the way back in the old Sahel in Africa. See, all of that shit comes from these beautiful, cultural, flavorful Africans. Yes, it went into its own direction and evolved in its own direction when it came here. Of course, change is what life is. If you deny change, you deny evolution. But what I'm saying is that rhythm, just like in Brazil when they do that little the capoeira, the martial art that comes from the populations in Angola or Cameroon, you can see it. It evolves in its own direction. You know, no one should take that away. Who gave you the flavor? Who gave the United States its flavor was the African swag that was brought here. The same African swag that was brought to Latin America. You know, you go to Latin America, you look at certain things that they do, it's the African element that put it on. You study Spain alone is boring. You talk about the indigenous stuff was flavorable, but it wasn't as flavorable as the African. But what the people did down there is put a creolization to it and mixed it all together and made it beautiful. Now the Latinos is a powerful group of people, and I respect them. The same way with the West Africans, what they did when they came in the United States, you know, and the same thing they did when they went into the Caribbean. Let's talk about it.
Okay. So it goes. This comment is from Miss Jackie. I know you remember her. She said rap is not African. It's a different style of musical expression created by Black Americans.
I mean, that's her opinion. But what I'm saying is these black Americans are sent from Africa. And so rap, like I said, I want people to comprehend what I'm saying. It evolved in its own direction and became its own here. I'm not saying it didn't become its own here, but I'm saying them people from the continent had poetry going on. If you study ancient Mali sayings, ancient, you know, wild. If you study Wagadu, if you study the shit that was going on in Cameroon and Angola, they had poetry already going on. They was already dancing. They was already doing stuff like that. But of course, when it comes to the United States, it becomes its own. And these black people in the United States, I'm not, again, people got an issue with identifying with African. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you want to be black, that's fine. But the reason why you're called black is because you come from black people or people that was called black first from the continent. But if you want to take that and make it independent, hey, that's what people want to do. But what I'm saying is rap, which comes out of hip hop. Because if you study rap now, like drill music that we do in Chicago, they don't even have all the elements to it. You don't see people doing the break dancing. You don't see none of that. You just see young niggas with choppers flowing with some hard ass beats in the background, talking about the shit that's going on in their time. So, you know, when you talk about hip hop, which is dead to me, I'm gonna be honest with you, that comes from African Americans, Afro Caribbeans, and Puerto Rican kids who lived in the Bronx, who was partying, and it evolved in its own thing and creolized in its own direction. I'm just saying, at root, the flavor at base, Africans came over here with swag. They came over here with this stuff. I'm not gonna say my ancestors were some shitless ass people. I'm not gonna say my ancestors came over here with nothing. They knew how to survive already, and they made the best out of it and created their own thing here. But they already had the customs from the continent. That's all I'm saying.
Right. In fact, and I want to say something in regard to that. Nobody said that Black people never created anything valuable here in America, because if you guys was listening, he's basically saying that our ancestors did create something valuable here in America. But what he was saying is that, those people were African descended people that came from a descendant of African descended people who were enslaved here in this country. So they created some type of cultural identity for us to carry on throughout tradition. Okay. They also created a language. They created a style. They created all of these things. So that's what basically we're trying to say. We never said that Black people never done anything. So we're not discrediting Black people. As you can see, you're talking to two African Americans. All right.
That's it.
You see two African Americans communicate with each other, and we're pretty much on the same page. So
That's
we're
it.
not we're not saying anything, but we're saying that we have to honor our roots. And the roots is we are of African descent. So whether you may want to call yourself that or not, that's okay. That's your choice, that's your prerogative.
That's right.
However, your genetics, your DNA doesn't lie. You know what I'm saying? And we got to stop trying to twist the narrative around and trying to create something that does not fit or that's not in line scientifically. So scientifically speaking, that's what you are. Biologically speaking, that's what you are. So you can refer to however you want to refer yourself. And again, we wouldn't even have black music if it wasn't for African people. You can't have black anything without African people, period. So if you were to take away, if you would take Africa out the equation or African people out the equation, you won't have anything left for yourself. And the reason why our people created the culture they created, because they had to find a way to fit into the society they were living in. They had to find a place for themselves because there was no safety net for them. When they were brought here against their own will. You know what I'm saying?
Tiffany,
So they were a long way from home.
my
So they
question,
had to create a safety net. They had to create something that will make them feel comfortable
Tiffany, my
and be
question,
able to balance themselves in a society that brought about so much oppression on them.
Tiffany, my question to you is, and who was those
And
people?
goes and speak a little louder.
And my question to you is, who was those people created? Those people that you're talking about that did that here, where did they come from and who was it? What was it?
What you say? You gotta talk a little louder.
Those people that you speak of, who created what you just said here, who were they and where did they come from?
Who were they?
Yeah, who were they?
They were
Where did
the
they?
African descended people.
And where did they come from?
They came from Central West Africa.
So that means that means it was Western Central Africans who were here, right?
Say that again.
So that means that it was Western Central Africans who were brought here that was going through it, correct?
Yes, and by the way, of the Africans that came out the Caribbean.
Okay, and also, so if that's the case, that means that the culture that was created here was created by who? Western Central Africans, right?
Yes, correct.
So that makes your culture an independent exterior African culture created by Africans outside of the continent. That's all I'm saying.
Correct. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
Because if you think about it, it was Africans that went through it. It was Africans that created it. It was Africans going through their oppression. So that means the culture that was created by Africans outside of the continent, which makes your culture just as African as any culture on the continent, just like African Caribbean culture. Those are Africans going through that. So we have our own levels to our Africanness within the diaspora. That's why I identify as African American. I don't deny my Americanism. My people is the foundation of America. My people was here before the name America was even established. Study when the history when this whole continent or this portion of the world was called America. You was here prior before. So you are American, but you're African American. And you should to me it shouldn't be forgotten. I'm just not gonna sound black. Why am I called black? I'm called black because I descend from where? Africa.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, and that's the bottom line. And then like, when we listen to how the Gullah Geechee people speak, right, they sound very similar to those somewhere in the Congo or Angola area. Hell, they sound very similar to those in the Barbados.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like when you listen to people from New Orleans, right? If you listen to how they talk when they speak Creole, it sounds so similar to those somewhere in what? Haiti. Sounds similar to those in Jamaica.
Hey, my man said, I don't know if you see the guy, Gyasi, how did you be African? Because their DNA is 20% British. There are a lot of people on the continent. Look at Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, the boxer, is Nigerian descent. One of his grandmothers was a recent Irish woman. His father's mixed with Irish. Anthony Joshua is only 75% sub-Saharan African. He's very similar to an African American. Guess what? That man talk about his he talk about his Nigerian. What I'm saying is that majority of your DNA, whether you're 20% British, 10% British, or whatever, majority of your DNA is from sub-Saharan Africa. That 20% don't make you white. That 20% is non-exempt in America. You're still called black by default. Why? Because majority of your DNA comes from sub-Saharan Africa. because majority of your DNA comes from sub-Saharan Africa, you're gonna always be considered black because of that. So if you're running around here 75% Nigerian, 85% or whatever it is, 30, it doesn't matter if you come from multiple groups. Majority of your DNA comes from sub-Saharan Africa. And the reason why you're called black is because majority of your DNA is from sub-Saharan Africa, and it's obvious that you're black. And you're black because you come from people from sub-Saharan West and Central Africa. That's why you're black. You're not black because you're Aboriginal. You're not black because you're from Australia. You're not black because you're none of the natives or indigenous people from here. You're black because you're from Ghana, Sierra Leone, Togo. So your little 20% British blood, you have people on the continent that's like that, who have a recent British or French ancestor. People in Angola. There's a few tribes there that have some Northwestern European or some European blood in them. All you gotta do is study the continent. Everybody on the continent is not 100% sub-Saharan African.
And that's correct. And I want to say something to Miss Jackie. She said, "Don't matter what percentage we have, we are still at mix." That's pretty much with everybody. I mean, yes, I agree with you. We are at mixture. We're what I like to call clearalized African or neo African. I like to say neo African because like we're a new breed of Africans that came from the existence of the African ancestors that were brought here.
But the Fulani are ethnics. The Somalians are ethnics. There are people, every group on the continent is ethnics. The people here, the South African coloreds are ethnics. I mean, admixture don't take you away from being who you are. You call black because the good your DNA comes primarily from black people from sub-Saharan Africa, who was called black first. They was called black before you was called black. The Bilal El Sudan means land of the black. The people in Sudan were called black first. The people in Angola, when the Portuguese came, were called Negro first, which means black. So because you come from those people, yes, you have some admixture in you. But there are also people on the continent that have some admixture in them. But because of that blackness that they overall represent, they still considered niggers and they still considered black by default, regardless to the 20%, the 15%, the 12%, the 30%. And to the Somali, he's 40% ancient Eurasian. Ancient Eurasian. We don't got the new Eurasian. We got the new Eurasian in us, like the British, the later derived mutated groups of Northwestern Europe, who have a later segment of mutation. They have an earlier layer of Eurasian DNA. We're talking about groups that come from basal Eurasians that split off and went back into the continent as early as 24,000 years ago. Not the Eurasians that went further north and went through further genetic drift and went through further but bottlenecks. So Eurasian doesn't mean anything.
But they don't get it. They don't understand it. They don't understand. Like nobody is 100% pure anything. Hell, even as Homo sapiens, we got Neanderthal genes in us. You know what I'm saying? We got Neanderthal genes. That's like what less than 1%.
You got that, and if you from West Africa, you got ghost genes that they don't even know what the hominid group was. They don't know if it was an intermediate between a base group of predecessors before Neanderthals, or if it's from an earlier basal group of Homo sapiens who were the predator who absorbed some of the traits before leaving out. If you say the ghost population. So it's a lot of shit about us that's unfamiliar in our species that the scientists can't even really detect. So you do have, if you're African American, most of us, because we mix with Europeans, we have traces of Neanderthal in us compared to the average European who's 1 to 2%. Like me, I'm 0.6% Neanderthal. I'm not a full 1%, I'm 0.6%. So most of us have traces of it in us because we have been mixed with Northwestern Europeans compared to the average white boy who's 1 to 2%. But if you go back into your sub-Saharan African coming from Nigeria, coming from Sierra Leone or Gambia, they also have ghost population genes in them, which diverged off from an ancient human group 500,000 years ago before Neanderthal even drifted out. So let's talk about the ghost population genes in us. So Homo sapien is not it's a complexity to how we were shaped and how we were formed and how we became what we are. Everybody's mixed. Nobody's pure. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's mixed some type of way. gatherers. Later on, evolved into later ethnic groups. So even if you go further back in time, if I take you to Western Central Africa 8,000 years ago, the population that existed today was not there 8,000 years ago. The predecessors of them, a lot of them came from the Sahel Belt, especially if you run around here with EM2. So admixture is just what we do. But one thing about America and Europe, because you are highly from sub-Saharan Africa, you will always be considered black. And you will also always be of African descent, and there's no forgetting that. That's what your blackness represents. The blackness is a reminder that you come from a place where a lot of people look like you at. And that place is Western Central Africa.
Right, exactly. And like when we was having a conversation over the phone, I was telling you that one of the ladies that I work with, she looked at me and said, I look like I was Fulani. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So I've been told that I look like a Fulani person or I have some type of similarity to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You look like, we have, yes, you look cooler. We have brothers and sisters who look like Bengal. We have brothers and sisters who look like the Yoruba. There's a, I mean, and then we do have some subtle Africans. But when you look at our whole, you can tell our, we look at our history in North America. But you can also see the familiarity of what we descend from. And it's obviously in our face. Looking at you, you look like a Fulani woman. Looking at different groups of people, I can name a whole lot of people that look like something on the continent. It is a reminder. But the Fulani has a unique history too. They're 30% your age, or 30% North African, slightly your age, because a few Berbers mixed with the population in the Sahel as early as 8,000 years and 3,000 years ago. The later waves went there only 1,000 years ago. So the Fulani is an ethnic group that's set in Futa Toro in northern Senegal. Is no older than 1,000 years old. It's an ethnic group. These people had history far before the later ethnic groups. It's like me and your ethnic group. African American is like one of the newest ethnic groups. America, this portion of America is very new. This country is only, what, 247 years old, independently and recognized. So our ethnic group is very, very new. It's not old, but the elements that represent us have strong, long history. The same thing with our white brothers and sisters. Because I'm not a racist. I talk about all groups of people. White people have a history before they were called white. They had a history before this place was called America. So, the identity that we have in these ethnic groups are very new.
What was the last part that you said in Ngozi?
That these ethnic groups that everybody have, white people, black people, are all new. The description that we have, black and white, these are new social constructs. The idea of white, these people have a history time before being called white or American. The same way blacks do. We are all a new ethnic group, especially living in this portion of America. It's very new. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, race is a social construct. It's something that pretty much was created to bring about division amongst humanity. Now, there has been an argument in the past about the origin of those from Central West Africa, well, particularly from West Africa,
I want, I
that
want,
their origin goes way back to.
I want to tell Sister Jackie something.
I'm
Caribbean
sorry.
people, I want to tell Sister Jackie something because I read something in the comment. I'm trying to catch it and speak at the same time. But
Okay. Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
the Jamaicans, Caribbean people do have right to claim their ethnic group the same thing with people in the continent, and you do too. Your ethnic group is African American, foundational African American. That's your ethnic group. That's what you are in America. You are American by nationality. Your ethnic group is African American. Racially, they play the game called black. That's what you are.
Okay, Miss Jackie. I hope you got that answer. He said it. I hope you got it. I hope you heard him. So now there has been the conversation about the origin of the West African people go all the way back to those in North Africa, particularly in Egypt and the Kush area. Um, can you build on that?
They say who came from Egypt and Kush area? They say who came from Egypt and the Kush area.
Okay, so there has been a conversation about the origin of people from West Africa, like from
Yeah, yeah.
as far as their history, like their origin going back to those from North Africa, like part of like Egypt and the Kush area, the Kush Empire, and all of that.
We don't come from. We don't come from Egypt. Egypt had its own independent history.
It's-
Egypt has been.
Ngozi,
Could you hear me?
I can't hear you, Ngozi.
Could you hear me now?
Nah, not really. The people having a hard time hearing you.
Could you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit.
So we don't come from Egypt. Egypt has its own history. Black people are not from Egypt. Egyptians wasn't black. They wasn't black people. And we don't come from Sudan. Um, I want you to hear me. Could you hear me, or the audience can't hear me?
Ngozi.
Yeah, could you hear me? Could you hear me?
Hey, Ngozi, can you do this? How about this? Can you just call my phone? Matter I'll call your phone, then I'll put you on speaker so people can hear you.
Do that.
Okay. All right. Hey, you guys, I'm gonna get Ngozi on the phone so that way you guys can hear him. Hello? Okay, Ngozi? Okay. All right. So now, what was you saying?
I said we don't come from Egypt. We don't have nothing to do with Egypt. Egypt is Africa, but it has its own history, its own culture. Egyptians have been rich for a very long time. We talk about 23,000 years. So we're not black people. Egyptians are Egyptians. Egyptians have their own history. Represent a combination from ancient Neolithic Levantines and ancient populations that drifted from the Sahara a very long time ago. They formed their own cluster. They formed their own cluster because, 23,000 years ago, you had hunter-gatherers crossing from the Levant, going into the Sinai, going into Egypt. And then you had people from Egypt already crossing over there, going into some portions of the Levant, mixing with people like the Cabrians, forming the Tupian cultures. The people that we represent, we have ancestry North African in us, but we don't have the later derived ancestry North African where they receive Levantine and Eurasian genes. We have the later derived African genes, ancestry North African, that was the predecessor haplogroup E from fragmented Assyrian cultures. We have to think when Homo sapiens dispersed into the continent, they went into multiple directions. One group goes north into North Africa 159,000 years ago. They're called Assyrian culture. Another group peels off through Central Africa, through East Africa, becomes, before they believe in pygmies, they become the Central and West African hunter-gatherers. Now, some people leave out of the continent 70,000 years ago and become all the non-African groups. The people that was lingering around the Sahel Belt, they were the predecessors of haplogroup E. This E goes into multiple directions from a group of people called the Cormarusians crossing out of East Africa. So West African hunter-gatherers, except for East African hunter-gatherers, they crossed over a long time ago at different phases of time. So we don't come from Egypt. Egypt has its own history. Their history is really clustered with the ancient early Middle East. So North Africa was always, Middle East North Africa. So they were not black people. The only time you really have dark-skinned people where they were black was when they were Assyrian cultures, going back 159,000 years ago. Before that, a lot of mutations went on, a lot of bottlenecks occurred, a lot of genetic drift. We're not even Kushites. Most of the Cushitic people were mainly Nilotic people, and Nilotic people and pre-Niger Congo people diverged from one another 16 to 20,000 years ago. So when they diverged from 16 to 20,000 years ago, they already had their own unique cluster. So most of those Cushitic people were either Nilotic and then also Neolithic Levantine. That's what creates the pre-Cushitic people, because they crossed in Sudan, and the predecessor base of that is the Bija people. But the Bija people that you see in North Sudan now are remnants of the ancient Cushitic people, or the Magi. Then you had the Nilotic people coming in. They mix with the pre-Nilotic people, and they become Cushitic people, and they go all the way down into different portions of Africa as pastoralist groups. They become the Iberian pastoralist groups. They become the pastoralist groups in Kenya. Some of them reached the Sahel Belt and mixed with those drifting Saharic populations that was lingering around. That later on evolved into pre-Fulani groups. This is when you start to find Tassili cave art, the pheasant cave art. A few Berbers start to come down. But us directly, we primarily don't come from that. A lot of our ancestors come from an earlier phase of ancestral North Africans, who were fragmented Assyrians, and ancestral East Africans, who were distinct East African hunter groups that mixed with indigenous populations that was close to groups in Sri Lanka. But we're not Egyptians. Egyptians have their own history.
Okay, because over the years, people have made the argument that the migration period, like those had migrated from the northern part of Africa to West Africa, and that's how West Africa came into existence. Like, can you hear me? Yeah, so people have made the argument over the years that that the people came from like North Africa, right? Migrated from North Africa and went over to what we know today as West Africa.
We don't come from Egypt is dynastic. Egypt is 5,300 years old. Go to like pre-dynastic from Nakata to Badari. So even before that, we don't come from none of those people over there at all. They have a unique history cluster that they had that's been consistent for thousands of years. And we have our own unique history. The only thing that we mix with is the West African hunter-gatherers, who were descendants of East African hunter-gatherers, Central African hunter-gatherers, who mixed with fragmented Assyrian people that were the vestiges of old ancestral North Africans that did not receive a lot of that Eurasian back migrating drift like a lot of people that stayed in the North and East Africa. They received a lot of Eurasian back migration as early as 23,000 years ago. It kept going on consistently.
Okay. Yeah, so basically it's safe to say that our Central West African ancestor origin will be more so like connected with those from the Bantu, basically, right? Okay. Now there's some comments on here. I guess one person had one person made a comment said, but Ramses the third in Egypt was E1B1A.
Let me talk about that. E1B1A is 42,000 years old. And some of them mutated in the Green Sahara into EM2 around 30,000 years ago, or as late as 19,000 years ago, before the Holocene period. When E1B1A first developed, we have to go all the way back to microhaplogroup E, which goes back 70,000 years. That developed with ancient ancestral North Africans around 72,000 years ago. You got to think the Assyrian culture leaves from ancestral East Africans 159,000 years ago. They go into North Africa. When they go into North Africa, they're mainly A, B, and some mutate into haplogroup CT, which is CTM168 that leaves out of Africa and become non-African, while B still stayed in Africa. The only population that's closer to these non-African groups are the Hadza group that you find in Tanzania today. They're closer to what became non-African early populations. So EM96 came from early ancestral North Africans in the Middle Stone Age. And then some of them, as EM96 drift off, it formed into EP177, EP147, and then into EP2. So they go down as EP147, and then EP177. EP177 goes down into the Horn of Africa to the Priest and Dawi groups, and then it goes back north. There's something called the Cormarusians. They're leaving out as E1B1. This is as early as 40,000 years ago. They go in two different directions. One group goes through the Sahel Belt to EM2, which is what we have, E1B1A. They're living all in the Sahara. The other group goes north as EM215. They are mixing into the populations as up there, the fragmented Assyrian groups. Okay. As 40,000 years ago. So what happened was some of the E's that stayed in the Sahara never went south of the Sahara. As we go south into the Sahara, a lot of our clays of EM2 or E1B1A is later derived. Ramesses, if he's EM2, because there's a lot of speculation on that, EM2, and he's not a clade of EP177 or E1B1B, because we're gonna find out soon what it was, but we're gonna just run with it if he is E1B1B. The Egyptians to this day, the fair-skinned Egyptians, 5% of them have a unique clade of E1B1A. That's distinct from ours. And it's something that came from the Green Sahara that went into its own direction. So yeah, you might share a paternal line with him, but that doesn't make him you, because EM2 is very old. Green Sahara that went into its own direction. That way with E1B1A. You know what I'm saying? They got it recently, probably from an African slave. You got white boys down south. They take DNA tests, and you find a white man with E1B1A.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say is E1B1A. You have an ancestral lineage that's shared with Ramesses, because even 23andMe, when you read it, it says this Y chromosome shows that you have some similarity or some ancestral lineage shared with Ramesses from the Middle East or North Africa. That's what it says.
Yeah. Hey, so Miss Jackie on here and she would like to say something. So I got some people on here, but I brought Miss Jackie up here first. Go ahead, Miss Jackie.
Yeah.
How you
Hey, so
doing?
Miss Jackie on here and she would like to say something. So I got some people on here, but I brought Miss Jackie up here first. Go ahead, Miss Jackie.
Okay, hello, Tiffany.
Hey, how you
And
doing?
hello, Ngozi. Isn't Ngozi still there?
Okay, hello,
Yeah.
Tiffany. And hello,
You got an
Ngozi.
echo in your background. You got an echo,
Isn't
Miss Jackie.
Ngozi still there?
Okay,
Yes,
hello.
he's still here, but you got an echo in the background.
Honey, wait 1 second. Can you hear
Okay.
me now without the echo?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, wait 1 second. Let me cam up real quick. So I'll
Okay.
wait.
Okay.
Hey
Hey.
y'all.
How you doing?
Hey Ngozi. How y'all been?
We
I
been
only
fine.
cammed up because he on here. I got
Oh,
excited when I heard Ngozi was on. I haven't heard from him in a long time. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say first, let me cam on off. I'm gonna say first that Ngozi has a lot of good information. He really does. And I respect all that he has done for us as far as like being how would you put it enlightened about who we are as a people. So I would never get on here and disrespect that brother. He's a very good brother, and he's always been doing a lot of positive and wonderful things for us. So I want to say that first. And so I'm so happy to hear him just speak. You know what I'm saying? Even though he and I have some fundamental differences in how we view things,
Uh-huh.
but I do respect that brother. I do respect the research that he puts in and how he's putting it down. But I also wanted to get on here and kind of explain a few things because I think that it's important for us to understand that what we are doing with the delineation movement is specifying our unique ethnic group. And what has happened in the past is that has not been done. We have been pretty much cast as these generic Africans, especially in the Pan African movement. And that often we are told by people from the Caribbean as well as continental Africa that we don't have a unique culture and other certain things about our culture that is basically very negative and not positive. And so what we're doing is that we're saying, actually, we do have a culture. We are a distinct and unique people. And that's something that you will respect. And we already pretty much delineated. This is pretty much gone nationwide. So it's already, for the most part, has been done, maybe not formally yet, but informally. And we also do have certain organizations that are pushing for us to have a separate ethnic identity. And I think it's a problem for some Black Americans or African Americans who still prefer to be identified as such, for us to have this movement because we've been so conditioned to view ourselves as race first, okay, Black first, and to be an inclusive people and accepting people of anybody who's Black in the diaspora. And so now that when we have people that saying, what, hold up here, we are distinct people, we do have our distinct culture, we do have a distinct lineage and history and achievements that is unique to us. Now it's a problem. It wasn't a problem when Caribbeans are doing it. It's not a problem when Africans do it because no one is bitching, excuse my French. Nobody is complaining and having a problem with delineation when you have Caribbeans that's waving their flags and having their Caribbean Day parades and creating their own separate organizations for their people. No one is complaining when the Africans say, yeah, I'm Nigerian, I'm Senegalese American, I'm this, I'm that. Everybody celebrates and honors and respects these people to have their own culture. But when it comes to us, no, you can't do it. You can't identify how you want to identify ethnically. You have to be this Pan-African. You have to be this African. You have to just always acknowledge African, 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 African. But you don't even put that responsibility or that standard on people who are Caribbean at all. They can be Jamaican, they can be Trinidadian, they can be that. People can say that, and that's okay. So
Okay.
the person said I'm talking too much. That's okay. That's all right. All I'm saying is, I love you too, James. You're a wonderful human being. So my thing is, all I'm saying is that for me personally, because I'm speaking for myself personally, I can't speak for anybody else who identifies as foundational Black American or even American freedmen or even ADOS. But from my understanding, or how I identify, I prefer the term American freedmen because that was the term that was legally used to identify us when we were freed from slavery. Okay. Some people like to refer to the term foundational Black American. Some other people like to use ADOS, and then, that's a whole different issue. But all I'm saying is that we are a distinct group of people. We have created our ethnogenesis, did not start in Africa. Our
You sure about, hold
ethnogenesis
on, Miss Jackie. Miss
started
Jackie, are you sure
here.
about that?
Yes.
Okay,
Because
okay.
you got to understand what ethnogenesis is.
Okay, explain to what
Okay, so
ethnogenesis is so we can
ethnogenesis
be on the same
is
page.
basically when a group of people become a distinct ethnic group. Okay, that did not happen in Africa. Our ethnicity did not originate in Africa. It originated here in America when you had different ethnic groups who were here, who were indigenous to this land, who were Black. Yes, there were Black indigenous people who mixed in with the people who were captured, enslaved from Africa, and then also people who also were mixed in with some of those Europeans who enslaved us. And as an amalgamation of that, you have what you call American freedmen or the FBA. And that started here in America. That unique experience, that unique mix, what happened to us did not start in Africa. I think you're taking it as someone is saying, oh, we don't have any African ancestry at all. I'm not saying that personally. I'm saying that the origins of our ethnic group originated here in America. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Okay.
saying where it all came together, where all those ethnic groups came together and amalgamated, that did not happen in Africa. That happened in America. And so, even with the origins of our culture, and what I'm saying, because when you look at our culture, are there some African elements in there? Yes, but guess what? There's some European elements. There's some indigenous elements in it.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's a
because
lot of African
I
elements.
do, huh?
There's a lot of African elements in us, though,
It's a lot
and
of
we can't deny it.
indigenous. It's a lot of indigenous that Pan Africans don't want to acknowledge because they're riding on the I'm African wave. I'm being unbiased here. I tell the truth. I don't push
Okay.
ideology. I don't push what people want us to be. I push what we actually are. If you even look in the hoodoo tradition, which I study, Many of those elements don't come from Africa. Much of it comes from the indigenous Americans. Then you got some of those elements come from the cunning folk culture that's some European. Some people don't know that. So what I'm saying, but then there's a lot of aspects of hoodoo that is our own, that we created on our own here in America, not in Africa, not in Europe, not anywhere else, but here. So what I'm saying is, for example, our cant language Tutanese, that's not African. That was created here in America. Our most of our food, our soul food tradition, most of the foods that we use don't come out of Africa. That comes from the foodstuffs here that's in America. So that's just a couple examples. Our folklore tradition, some of our folklore that originated in America. That didn't have, some of our folklore don't come out of Africa. So what I'm saying is that there are things that we created on our own that doesn't come from Africa. It's like you can't take away the innovation, the creativity, and the ingenuity of a people. Culture evolves, it grows, it changes. People grow and change it. To say that this came directly from there and not give credit to the people who actually created it, that's insulting. That's a form of cultural ethnocide. That's
Okay.
you're genociding people culturally when you do that, because you're
Okay.
saying that they created nothing on their own.
Okay. Miss
Are we
Jackie.
saying that black Americans aren't creative? They can't create new things?
Miss Jackie.
That
Miss
doesn't
Jackie.
make sense.
Miss Jackie. Miss Jackie. And
Uh-huh.
Ngozi want to respond if you don't mind. And then I
I'm
got other people
sorry.
that want to
I'm
get on here.
sorry.
So go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Ngozi.
Okay, so basically, that's why it's important to listen to the beginning of the show. So what I said was, when it comes to the Jamaican or the Afro Jamaicans or the Afro Caribbeans, those are just another set of Africans. They have their own history, they have their own struggle, they have their own thing. They're just another group of Africans with their own uniqueness that happened on that portion of this part of the world, the diaspora. The same thing with the Haitian. The Haitian is distinct from the Jamaican. They might share a lot of genetic affinities, but the Haitians have their own unique culture in that portion of the Caribbean, right? The African American, or what I call us, foundational African Americans, we have our own history, we have our own culture, we have our own thing that we created. What I'm saying is, as I stated, I'm saying a lot of stuff the way you said it, Sister Jackie, but not exactly, because you believe that you say something about the Black Indigenous. I don't know nothing about Black Indigenous. I just know that I'm primarily highly Sub-Saharan, Western, Central African, and European and Jewish, and a little Middle Eastern. That's what my DNA say. But I'm mostly of Sub-Saharan, Western, Central African descent. So what I'm trying to say is that, with that being said, it was those Western Central Africans that was in this portion of the world that was going through the struggle. They had to create something out of nothing, create a new identity in order to have a place in this portion of the world and have a stamp. So what I identify as, I have nothing against being classified or labeled as African American or foundational African American. And when I say foundational African Americans, we are the African Americans, or the Africans that was brought here, that was responsible for building this country, that was responsible for fighting in every war, that was responsible, that was even here before a lot of Europeans that came out of the Great Depression. A lot of the Europeans that came after the Great Depression, they wasn't here long enough.
Sorry.
So what I'm trying to say is that an African American has a right to be classified as American, as a nationality, because we are Americans, just like a white person or anybody else. But the foundational African Americans have its own lineage and its own line and its own struggle that happened right here, from Carolina to Mississippi to Louisiana, all the way to Virginia. The history that happened in the South before we had the Great Migration going north, it was us here that brought the flavor here. Those African Americans, whether some people want to call themselves freedmen's, whether they just want to be classified as black, the banner that we go by and that's recognized today is African American. So that's why I say foundational African Americans. Just like the Jamaicans have a history, and I said they have their own culture, they have their own music and their own thing going, that belongs to them. I wouldn't go to Jamaica and say, hey, guess what, nigga? Nigga, we just because we shed Nigerian blood or some Ghanaian blood, nigga, I did this too. No, that's their shit over there. They speak Patois. I speak African American Vernacular English, or AAVE. That's my dialect of English I speak. I speak a Chicago subset of that dialect. You know, when niggas up here say on phone them, whatever, bro, what's going on, our own dialect, or niggas down in Memphis got their own dialect of AAVE. I speak my own dialect, because even within African America, there are different subsets of cultures within us. People in Chicago do something totally different than people in Georgia. The people from the west side of Chicago are a little bit distinct from the people from the south side of Chicago. The same way when you go to California, people in LA do something different than people in Southern California. So what I'm saying is that African Americans have their own subset culture that was shaped right here. And I don't take that away from us. Just like Jamaican have his own sex culture that was set right there. But at the end of the day, we're all Africans. That's just how I'm looking at it. I'm not saying that because we're Africans, we have to, or something, just because somebody comes from the continent, we got to kiss their ass. I don't believe in that. The African don't make me African. Just because you come from Africa, that don't make you greater than me. I don't need recognition from a person from Africa to be identified as an African, but that's what I am biologically over all of my DNA composition. If you run around over 75%, 65%, 55% sub-Saharan Africa, that's the majority of your blood, and that's the reason why you're branded as black. That's what I am. And my skin or the DNA that I have is in reference and remembrance of that. So I don't look for a Jamaican to prove to say I'm black or African, because the Jamaicans is just as black as me. Jamaicans call themselves black when you go to the UK. If anybody ever been to the UK, Afro-Caribbeans are called black. So Nigeria literally means nigger land, black land. That's what Nigeria means. Study the history. Before the Trinity River, the black waters, they're called black. Racially, due to the pseudo-racialization, because we know race is a social construct, gold and black is all the same shit. A Nigerian would be considered black. A Jamaican would be considered black. An African American would be considered black. But the problem is with the African Americans, all they had to represent them as a sense of identity was their color of their skin, because the ethnic group was lost. Once the ethnic group was lost, what made us bridge together is the color of our skin. Because everywhere we went, we were persecuted and called nigger. Nigger this, nigger that, nigger this, nigger that, as a reminder that we were black. Because nigger and black means the same thing. It really does. So actually, the term black, or nigger, or whatever you want to call it, that was what bridged us together, which is the color of our skin, and the ethnic group that mattered to us. So that's why when we look at a Nigerian, we don't give a damn about their ethnic group. We don't care about that. We just say black, because that doesn't. We lost our ethnic groups, so we would just all we had was the color of our skin, because that's what we were recognized as in this portion of the world. That's why black matters to us more. Black power was shaped in North America. Pan-Africanism was shaped in North America. There was never Pan-Africanism on the continent. You might hear it a few times with the population in Mali and Ouagadougou, or in the Sahel Belt, or what they're doing in Burkina Faso now, but on the continent it never exists. It only happened here because we had no choice, because black people were put in the corner, and we had no choice but to stick together and create identities for ourselves. We created all that shit here. So all of that is part of African American culture, whether people want to like it or not. Pan-Africanism was shaped here. Black power was shaped here. We made black look cool. We have people all the way in Australia and different places of the world calling themselves black. Because African Americans here, when we had the Black Power, the Black Panther movement and different things. But that's all we had was blackness. We took the racial identification of what we were classified as Negro or Negroid to another level. And we made black proudness. So that's why we fight so hard for this identity, which is black. But here's the thing. I'm going to say it again. The Jamaican is black. The Haitian is black. The Nigerian is black. The Senegalese is black. They're all black. And they go anywhere else in any part of the world, they're going to be called black or nigger. You see discrimination going on right now. Black people on the continent. Which right now it's called a General Toure. They were just talking about the blacks of Burkina Faso. That's what they were just calling them. So what I'm saying is, I personally identify as a foundational African American. A Nigerian is not a foundation African American. He's a Nigerian and he's an African, and he's American. If he gets his citizenship, he's American, but he's not a foundational African American. Even though the lineage that he has, because Africans was brought here before the name Nigeria even exists. Study the history in the timeline of the slave trade, and study when that portion of the country was called, that country was called Nigeria. People from that area was already brought here before that country was called that. So that's what that means. That Nigerian shares ancestors that was responsible for building this country, even though the lineage was separated. So yes, we have our own unique lineage. Yes, we have our own unique history. Yes, it belongs to us. But I would not call a Nigerian and I would not call a Senegalese a foundational African American. That's not a history. We are the foundational African Americans. The ones who were enslaved here, the ones that went through all the changes here, and the ones that evolved in our culture and custom here. But I don't deny my Africanness, and I would never take that away from who I am as a black person or African American. And I would never deny the Jamaican from being an African or black. He's just an Afro-Black Caribbean, aka Jamaican. A Nigerian is an Afro-Black Nigerian, aka African Nigerian. African Americans are African American Creole people because we went through a creolization of the New World. All of us went through a form of creolization, whether we have a little native in us or a Northwestern European. That's part of American history. It's creolization. We're all Creole. You don't have to be a nigga from Louisiana and be high yellow to be Creole. All of us in the diaspora are Creole. We have surface Creoles, which is what we know, light-skinned niggas from Louisiana. Not the black Creoles, the Gullah Geechee. All of us went through a sense of creolization. Different ethnic groups that was distant from one another. This is the only place where you can find a Fulani all the way from Senegal mixed with a nigga from Togo who turned around and mixed with a little bit of people from Ghana and turned around and mixed with a few people here. And all they had, because of the reason why they was able to do that is because they was all part of the same situation. They were all the same victims that was put in a situation called slavery, the transatlantic slave trade.
Mhm.
Your ethnicity didn't mean shit when you was brought here. When them white people seen you, whether they was in Spain, when the Spanish brought you here, and they kidnapped all them people from Angola and Cameroon and brought them there, but when the British took over the ports and they started, they didn't give a fuck about who you were. They didn't give a fuck if you was Warlord, Fulani, none of that shit meant nothing. All they seen is niggers. Negro. All the Spanish and Portuguese seen was Negro. That's all they had. That's all they seen.
Mhm.
So we had to create an
Can
identity. So that's all I'm going to
can
say.
I respond real quick, if that's
Yeah,
okay?
yeah, real quick, and then I gotta bring
If that's
somebody else.
okay, Ngozi, or
Go ahead, Queen.
you
Go
wanted to
ahead.
add something, huh?
Yeah, go ahead, Queen. I'm listening to you. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so I think this is a good conversation because what's going on is that you do what we're seeing is a segment of us are saying, no, I'm holding on to this. I want this African to be explicitly stated in my identity, right? And so I hear that coming from you. But then you have others of us that are riding with the black indigenous thing. And then other of us are saying, well, we're gonna ride with we are a mixed group with a unique mixture from multiple ethnic groups from different continents, not just Africa. So I'm not going to use the African term. Now, another thing with the African, well, first, I want to address this. I never say that every that our cultures from, let's say, from the African side of us were lost. I don't like to use that term. But I think what we have to understand when you put a group of people from different multiple ethnic groups together, right? Naturally, you're not going to keep everything because you have to learn how to work with each other. You're mixing, you're breeding, living amongst each other. So you have to find common things, breaking down the elements of each culture and finding the elements that we have in common and that we share. Does that make sense what I'm saying? For you to communicate and live with the people from different cultures. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's going to be a natural progression that when you have different multiple ethnic groups who's in a different environment that is exposed to other ethnic groups from different countries and different nations, you're going to see that amalgamation process happen. And there everything is not going to be kept in full individual for each individual ethnic group. That's just a process of what happens when you mix, when you intermingle, when you become one people. That's called ethnogenesis. So I wanted to address that. And then also, for me personally, even though even though I respect the fact that you want to keep the term African, right, for the identification, I respect your point of view. I see your point of view. Okay. The reason why I'm going the other way and doing American freedmen, because that cannot be remixed. We were the only people in this nation that got American freedmen as far as an official formal identifier. Because see what's happening right now in Ngozi. See, you have people from these different nations, and they trying to say, yeah, I'm foundational Black American, I'm foundational African American, I'm foundational too in America. They're trying to find any way to kind of like insert themselves into our ethnic identity. African American is just too broad at this point.
Hold on, hey,
And
Tiffany,
so what I'm saying, we have to be, yeah, I have
Hold on,
heard
Miss Jackie.
Caribbeans
Hold
try
on,
to
hold on,
pull that.
Miss Jackie. Hold
Huh?
on. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Okay.
so let me respond to the queen right quick.
Okay.
And I wish, look, next week, Tiffany, I'm gonna be in a better area so you can hear me clear. Right now, I'm not in a good area. That's why I can't get on the stream yard. But I'm gonna say this, Miss Jackie. I hope you can hear me, my love. But listen, Queen, this is what's going on. A Nigerian cannot say he's a foundational African American. Just like I couldn't go to Nigeria and say, hey, I'm Nigerian. I'm not. Nigeria or people represent an element in my identity. I am not a Yoruba. You can repatriate back into those ethnic groups if you want, because many African Americans do it, or African Caribbean people do it. Some people repatriated back into the Mandinka, the Yoruba, they practice the customs and the tradition, that's fine. But I'm saying, on a historical level for recent times, a Nigerian cannot say he's a foundational African American. A Jamaican cannot say that he's a foundational African American. There are borders and lines that have to be drawn. And I get what you're saying, Miss Tiffany. It's easy for people to insert themselves and say they're African American. That's true. But they cannot say that they're foundational African Americans. Because here's the thing. If you're from Jamaica and you come over here and say, well, in New York, there's a lot of that going on in New York. In New York, a lot of those black brothers over there are not the old black brothers that was from Virginia and Georgia and Carolina, I'm sorry. They still exist there, but a lot of them are mixed with people from the Caribbean, blacks, or they're just Caribbean blacks. Now, right now, the Dominicans is like out in New York. They all through the Bronx, they all through Harlem, they everywhere. You have the Caribbean blacks, African American blacks living amongst one another. And in some cases, some of them kind of merge into independent groups and they call themselves African American. But there's a lot of stuff going on in New York. The Dutch control New York. If anybody know the history of New York, the Dutch control New York. Study the history, you can see what's going on. But what I'm saying is, they can't say that they're foundational African American. When you say you're foundational to anything, there's a history that you have that makes you unique from whoever. So you can't just say, oh, I'm a foundational African American. You're not. Just like I can't go to Nigeria and say, hey, brothers, I'm Nigerian. That's a lie. Just like I got some Nigerian in me, I also got some people from Senegal in me. I also got some people in me from Ghana. I also got, you know what I'm saying? I represent all of that. That's what I'm saying. Right? See, the thing about us, Africanism was not created on the continent of Africa. It was created with us here. It was looking for our identity. The old churches that we had was branded with Africanism. When we tried to find ourselves,
Excuse me.
what I'm saying is,
Okay.
the Black Power movement, like I spoke of, it was created right here. What I'm saying is, I'm just going to say this in response to you. They can't say that they're foundational African American because that's not their history. We have a history, we have a culture, we have a lineage. And if we respect that, that's just what we stand on. Now, people don't want to call themselves that, that's fine. But I wouldn't tell a Nigerian, or I wouldn't allow a Nigerian or a Jamaican. I can't tell people what to do. But in my presence, I wouldn't agree with them or allow them to say they're African American, foundational African American. They can call themselves African American, but they can't say they're foundational African Americans because that's not part of their history of what they've been through. We did this. Some said for the Africans here that was going through that struggle, the challenge that was going through all that was the uniqueness of us right here in this portion of North America, from Carolina to Mississippi to Alabama to Louisiana, all through the southern states before the Great Migration. us going through that shit here. Those Africans right there, they had to create a new identity for themselves, ethnic group for themselves, and a new whatever for themselves. It was all created right there. So no, they're not foundational African Americans.
Hey, Ngozi, real quick. Somebody have a question. Somebody named Afro NAV World said, question to the brother though. What about the Africans who were taken to the Carolinas after they were first in the Caribbean, like Gullah Geechee having connection to the Barbados?
They foundational African American. You have to understand the border. First of all, these borders is created by the colonizers who colonized. As a whole, we the same. In the sense of us all being African and black, it is what it is. But because we live in a political world, there's a foundation that we have in this portion of the world. Once the United States broke off and became independent, the Jamaica and all that shit was still in control by the British. Now the United States do control some borders of those islands now. They have independent nations that's not seen as 50 states. But what I'm saying is that at one time, we have to understand what's going on. So the Gullah Geechee are foundational African Americans, even though they do have some Caribbean people that came from, the Bahamas or whatever the brother spoke of. Once they came here and they went through the struggle and challenge here, they're part of the history that makes up this portion of the world, this portion of North America. Came from.
Excuse me.
Okay. Hey, so
Can I? Is it okay? I could say something real quick.
Real quick, because I want to give another individual a chance.
Okay. It goes with what you just described
Hello?
as what we call ethnogenesis. Did you hear me?
It goes. Hello?
Is he there?
Hold on.
Did you lose him?
Hello? Ngozi?
I think we lost him.
Hold on, cuz he just let me call him back. Let me call him back.
Okay.
Hello, Ngozi? Ngozi? Okay then. Okay, what was you saying now, Miss Jackie, real quick?
With that last part, you know how you responded to that question about the Caribbeans being brought here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said, I was telling him that's what you call part of our ethnogenesis. So if they were brought here before, let's say, before slavery ended, that's part of that group that formed. That was part of an ethnic group that formed foundational, what some people say, Black Americans or American freedmen. So they became absorbed into that group. They're part of that founding group. It's an ethnogenesis. And I think we really have to emphasize that as Black Americans describing, we had an ethnogenesis here, where different ethnic groups were amalgamated, and here we are, and this is before slavery ended. So, but yeah, but I think I respect that he wants to call himself what he wants to call himself. But again, I'm just going to ride with American freedmen because I have personally heard Caribbeans trying to infiltrate even a foundational Black American term. I can see them trying to infiltrate the foundational African American term. And then to me, it's just I'm at the point where I want to recognize and acknowledge all of my ancestries. I do recognize my African, I don't deny that. But I recognize I do have Black indigenous ancestry, and I dishonor them when I don't recognize that. I recognize I have European slave master ancestry too. I may not like it, but it's the truth, it's the reality. I am at mix. That mix happened here on this land. I am what they call a foundational Black American or an American freedman. American freedman can't be remixed, it can't be stolen, it can't be infiltrated, and I prefer that to be legally the term to refer to us. Thank you so much, Tiffany. I'm going to be quiet now. So
Okay,
somebody,
thank you.
but
Thank you for
I
coming through.
appreciate you. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
you have a great one. It's great to hear from you.
It was an honor to speak to you too. It's an honor to speak to Ngozi. Love speaking to y'all. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
All right. Okay. All right, brother. Go ahead. Unmute your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Okay.
All
So
right.
what?
How
All right.
you how you how you doing, Miss Tiffany?
I'm doing fine. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I just I entered the chat. I've been listening for a while. I've been trying to get in way back since I overheard y'all was talking about something with the foundations of hip hop.
Uh
And
huh.
somebody the other dude said something about yeah, Puerto Ricans helped start it because they was there with us side by side. Well, that's absolutely false. There's absolutely zero truth to that. First off, hip hop did not start in South Bronx, as KRS said, and he backtracked on that. It started in West Bronx. To be specific, it started in Bronx River Projects. And no, Puerto Ricans and black people in Bronx River Projects in the 60s did not live together in there. The Puerto Ricans didn't start moving in there into the mid 70s. So no. And there's always been racism and hostility between Puerto Ricans and what you would call Native Black Americans or foundational Black Americans. It's a whole gang in the 90s that started in prison in New York because of Puerto Ricans doing wrong things to black people. So no, that's absolutely false. Puerto Ricans, Caribbeans, uh, DJ Hurt had absolutely nothing to do with hip hop. No, absolutely not. Second, I want to get back. Y'all was talking about. I'm the person who made the comment who said that how can we be African if we're 20% white? Um, First off, I'm not gonna. I just came back from Nigeria a couple months ago. I'm not gonna say that I'm African. I'm not gonna say I'm definitely not. We not no damn indigenous Native Americans. I don't know where the hell they get that from either. But we're not 100% African, so I'm not gonna call myself African. I just call myself a Black American. So that's a specific term because you don't want too many people getting in that to muddy up the waters. And that's real. That's really about it. I just wanted to catch back
Hold
up
on. Hold on.
that part.
Hold on, Sanjay, you on there?
Is somebody talking on
Hold
speakerphone?
on. Hold on, brother. Hold on. Sorry. Hold on, brother. Hello. Yes, I can hear you. Yeah. Hold on, brother. Sanjay. Who's that, brother? Chief, come on. Hold on, real quick, because I want to hear what this brother is saying, and then I'm gonna let you go ahead and speak afterwards, if that's okay with you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I want to respond to him. Yeah, that's Sanjay.
Okay, then. Okay. All right. I'm gonna let go. All right. Hold on. All right, brother. Now, what was you saying? And then, because then goes to want to respond to you, but go ahead and continue. I'm sorry.
Well, that's really it. I mean, I can't really hear what he's saying that good, but if it's he got something to respond back, go ahead.
Okay, brother, and goes. Go ahead.
I don't. When it comes to South Bronx and West Bronx, I'm not from New York. I'm from Chicago. Hip hop is dead, whatever. But I'm gonna stick to the gun. When hip hop became publicized, it was publicized by. I'm not saying the underground because it started off underground. So I agree with you. And if you want to say West Bronx, that's fine. You can go back to the brother from the South who moved to Carolina in the late '60s and made the song "Here Come the Judge." But I'm talking about when it was commercialized, the way it was publicized. No one can see the thing about the people don't understand. No one cares about underground for real. I mean, you can push it, you can talk about it. Yeah, you're right about what you're saying. But at the end of the day, who was us to say people in the Bronx at that time and West Bronx wasn't part Caribbean black though? A lot of those people already had Jamaican granddaddies, Barbadian granddaddies. But we don't know their lineage. We can't say that these were just straight black Americans from Carolina and Virginia. Let's disregard the Puerto Rican element and just focus on the Caribbean blacks that also was living amongst them in West Bronx and South Bronx. Let's talk about that. So what I'm trying to say is, on the underground level, brother, you're right. But when it became commercial and it became publicized, we see what it was representing, and that's part of the history in the Bronx. That's all I'm saying. Now, far as the admixture thing, you're saying that you're not. You can call yourself, like I said earlier, black American, whatever. But at the end of the day, the reason why you were called black, the reason why all of us were called black, because of remembrance of the reminder of us coming from sub-Saharan Africa. You don't have to be a Nigerian. You don't have to be a Ghanaian. You can just be a black American. But you still represent a person that came from your country. And you're still looked at as that. When you say you're not or whatever, that's why you call black. So it is what it is. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to call yourself, you call yourself whatever you want. People are driving on this admixture thing. The average African American is only to 10% European. The rest of their blood is coming from multiple ethnic groups in Western Central Africa. That European blood don't put you at 50-50 to be considered biracial. I don't understand what's the issue with anybody. It's really strange to me. If you run around here 55% sub-Saharan African, 65% to 70 to even 80 to 90%, you're black. You're black because you come from these black groups of people on the continent of Western Central Africa or sub-Saharan Africa. That's all I'm saying. That's it.
All right. So, brother Kamara, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'm off the topic. I know Tony was talking about. I heard talking about FBA. I'm doing a topic tomorrow. I just think people are aware, really a war, because the ignorance that these people are pushing. And the topic is that Greek machines FBA is a xenophobic anti-African cult. Greek machines is the modern day King Leopold Hitler. Because the scary he's pushing to make us fight over trivial things. Like Ngozi was saying, first of all, look at Malcolm X. Malcolm X's mother was Caribbean. And in the 40s, he's mixing with West Indian. This is here in America. You know what I'm saying? And we're not no goddamn Americans because, as Malcolm said, we're victims of America. We have lived the American nightmare. So this fixation of wanting to sit in and beg the slave master to give you something he ain't gonna never give you. We as a people need to separate from white people. Period. Now don't try to integrate with white, because the white man ain't gonna never give you. He's still complaining about not getting justice. He's still complaining about getting kicked. This is Sandra Monsi in her home. Rebuke him in the name of Jesus. The religion the white man gave you, and the cracker shot her and blew her brains out. You know what I'm saying? Time and time again, you see what's happening. So it's a sick hatred of Africa. And I truly believe, if you look at Memorandum 46, which came out during the Carter administration, they wanted to divide us, black people in America, my brothers and sisters in Africa. As you saw, Black Panther came out, and people were proud to be African, walking around dashikis, man, looking at, Wakanda as a possibility to be reality. It's when ADOS became popular. Then when Ibrahim Traore and Burkina Faso and they united, they welcomed us back home. They welcomed us back. I just said the goals they took. They welcomed. Now this is coming out. And they just doing hatred. Here are the people that spend all day long, 6 days a week. This man got 2,000 people listening, and that's the only thing he talk about is what he's African. Africans aren't killing up. Africans aren't raping our women. Africans aren't discrimination. They only about a half a million. I mean, 1.5 million people, too many people at the most. So instead of doing a real program, you want to be an FBA with it. Damn it, this will work. Where's your FBA grocery store at? Where's your FBA construction company? Where's your FBA school at? Where's your FBA after school program? Where's your FBA trade school? Where's your FBA farm? Where's your FBA clinic? You ain't doing a goddamn thing but just have people hate Africans. And the same, all your problem in the world, you putting on continental Africa. There was a brother that killed a sister, a Caribbean brother killed a sister. And he told FBA people don't do that. We don't do that. Man, Captain Joseph, black man in America, and the Nation of Islam, from Molotov cocktails through Malcolm X's house to kill his babies. Black Americans went inside a house in Philadelphia because they didn't agree with Elijah Muhammad, and they drowned newborn babies. So that's confusion. And I think that the government is doing it to keep us in destruction of us united. Your ethnogenesis. So what? All African people had ethnogenesis and moved around and merged with tribes. So what? You're still the same people. That's your people. But you unite with a cracker and call yourself American, but you don't want to call yourself that. That's the mind of a sick, diminished slave. A sick slave who needs help and needs medicine.
Okay. Okay. Brother, do you have anything you want to say?
Not really. It's kind of hard to understand him over the speakerphone. I can only hear bits and parts. But like I said, I just came back from Nigeria. I don't really understand the whole thing with trying to hold hands with people from Africa. A lot of them don't really like us like that. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, a lot of them, they'll show love just because you're an American. You're a giant walking dollar sign. They'll accept you because of that. But if you take away that American dollar from you, no, they generally don't really care about you. And I don't have any disdain towards Africans. I got a lot of African friends, but I'm just saying how it is. So
Uh, and I'm
go
and
ahead.
I want to say this to you. The problem is we're looking at acceptance from people in the continent and not realizing that this is our genetic bloodline. I mean, we know that there are going to be people that's not going to like us, that's not going to identify with us, that's not going to connect with us, and that's a-okay, because everybody is not going to like you. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. But you cannot deny your ancestral lineage did not come from that area or those regions. You know, because at the end of the day, if we're gonna deal with, if we're gonna talk about slavery, right, especially, we gotta go back to the roots. We must go back to the roots. And what's the root at? The root is started right there in Africa. We gotta go back to it. If you cannot go back to the roots, then you cannot talk about slavery. If you don't go back to the roots, then there's no sense of having a conversation about slavery. And that's bottom line.
So
Hey, Cindy, can I say
so-
one thing?
go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Go ahead.
Please, ever make that asinine comment again. Now, me and Ngozi both from Chicago, and we came up with this license. I'm a conservative. His family's traveler. And right here on the west side of Chicago, same ethnic group with your goddamn ethnogenesis and all your kumbaya, grab ass FBA nonsense. Brain matters going out on the sidewalk of Chicago of us not liking each other. We can't go a block over not liking each other. So Nigerians and Africans have been touched by the tentacles of white supremacy. You ain't got a half of a percent of black people in America all working together. So why are you holding Africa this higher standard? See, that's the mind of a slave, and your master taught you to hate yourself. And Willie Lynch is alive and well, and I think Willie Lynch is the supreme master, the grand poobah of this FBA delineation. We don't like each other right here. Bloods and Crips kill each other. You don't even get along with your woman. Your baby mama. Ain't she FBA? Your baby mama don't like you. So your baby mama don't like you, and you can land a pipe on her. What makes you think your African brothers and sisters ain't gonna have a little discord with you?
Well, I mean, you got a point there. You know what I'm saying? We was discussing that earlier, brother, that we don't even get along with each other. Hell, we don't get along with each other in the family.
Exactly. Exactly. So you hold Africa to this highest standard. That's what Ibrahim Traore is writing about. He's telling you that white supremacy has been over there in Africa. When they took millions of us out of the records say we lost over 100 million in Middle Passion. So when they did that, they destroyed Africa. First, the Arab did it, then the white man did it. So, Africa has been on decline for years. So we got to get it together.
All right.
Your baby mama don't like you. Don't tell me no African don't like it.
All right. Now we gotta stop blaming everything in the world on white supremacy. Oh, the Africans think about that because of white supremacy taught them that. White supremacy can't teach them nothing, man. This is just their mindset. You can't blame racism and white supremacy on everything. That's just their mindset.
Well,
Ooh, what?
you have a point. You have a point. However,
Name me what white supremacists went to Africa and told them don't like African Americans.
Oh, wait a
can't
minute.
just say
Hold
stuff
on.
like
Wait a
that.
minute. The projection. Wait, I can answer that. So, in the media, right? The way that the media has stigmatized us to everybody in the world, they have this perception about us because we being looked at in a negative manner when media being projected out there. So, and also you have to understand those people went through colonization. They've been colonized. So by them being colonized, right? They, of course, they have not learned a whole lot about African American history or just Black history here in the diaspora because of the colonization. So in a way, white supremacy does play a part in how we think and how we view ourselves and how we view one another.
Most of them don't even have television. They just started using the internet recently. So this has been a
Hold on,
mindset
hold,
that they've had since forever.
hold on. What you say, brother? What you say,
Well, he can
brother
go.
Kamara? No, what was he saying, brother Kamara? What you was saying?
I said, who taught the white man? Who taught Big Mama and Mud there to say nigga ain't shit? Who taught your baby mama not to like? Who taught your mama not to like your daddy? And vice versa. So white supremacy can handle a lot of this. And so, and I've been to Africa, and I think I'm a little older than everybody on this phone. I've been going to Africa for 25 years. I've been shown nothing but love in the Gambia, Mali, Guinea. I've been living with the people, and they've treated me very beautiful. So I don't feel that. And people, we got thousands and thousands and thousands who go to God and who love it, don't never want to come back.
Yeah, because they come there with the American dollar.
Huh?
I'm sorry,
Because
what you say?
yeah, they love y'all when y'all come there because y'all come there with the American dollar, man. Be real. Come on.
Okay, and it ain't just about American dollars either. It's not
It's
just
about the
about
dollar.
money.
It's about the dollar. That's why Ghana is only inviting people who come back to invest, right? They not inviting the regular people there. They only inviting the people who have interest and money to come back and invest. If it's not about the money, then they would just invite all of us back there, but they're not. They only inviting
Okay,
people that want to come there and invest.
hold on, brother, hold on. Let me hear what brother Kamara wants to say. Go ahead, brother Kamara.
I said you can't speak for me because they ain't one about me. I ain't had no damn money. But when I lost my business, they came over, put a collection together for me, put my stuff in U-Haul, let me live there, took me in. I ain't had. They treated me well. They treat a lot of people well. So stop making general statements. Again, you can't get your baby mama not to like you. Just shut your mouth to my what Africans don't like you.
You can speak for yourself. You can speak for yourself. You
Hold
can
on,
speak for
brother.
yourself.
Hold
You
on,
can speak
y'all.
for yourself.
Hold on. One at a time.
Maybe one of your favorite four baby mamas don't like you. Don't speak for me. Don't speak for me.
Okay, go ahead, brother Kamara. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Up next thing. Hold on, let me just say something. He said that they only like you for the American dollar. Be true in some cases. I don't.
It's in all cases.
Hold on.
Can I finish? Could you hear me, Tiffany?
Yeah, I can hear you.
That may be true in some cases. I'm a realist. In some cases, yeah, but guess what? And I'm not being disrespectful to no sisters or anybody, but there are motherfuckers in America who only like you for what you can get them for the dollar. And I'm not trying to speak bad about some women, but I'm going to say this to those who are at that lower level. Not women. I'm going to say this, not women. I'm going to say bitches at this time. There are some women with a bitch attitude that don't want to fucking talk to you or look at you. Come on, have a dollar. But you don't have an American dollar. So what I'm trying to say is, so the American dollar drives everywhere. The same way you can play the game with some people on the continent, I can play the same game with niggas out here in our communities who only want to be bothered with you for your dollar. That's just what it is, bro.
And this is human behaviors in general.
His baby mama don't like unless he get that check. Gonna get your check for a week. Your baby mama ain't gonna like me.
Well, we don't know if he has a baby mama or not, brother. But that's just human behavior in general.
Boy, come on, boy. You got a baby mama?
No, sir.
No, he said he don't. He said he don't have a baby mama. He said he don't have a baby mama.
Okay, well, I said, and how old are you? How old are you?
Man, I ain't here to get into my personal business. Just go on what you got to say.
I'm saying, the women they won't even give you none. They won't give you none. You ain't got that thing.
Man, speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
Okay, hold on, y'all. Hold on. Let's calm down because it went
speak
so
for
left.
Yourself. Speak for yourself. Don't speak for me.
Let's calm down. I will say this. I want to say this. That's human behavior in general. That's just not just African people. It's humans that's going to act like that. You know what I'm saying? See, if we study science, if we get into the biology of human behavior, we'll know that humans are going to carry on a certain type of human are going to compete with each other. Humans are not going to like each other. Humans are going to want to, do things that is very spiteful. So we dealing with human behavior. But I do agree with some of the points that you made. Yes, I do agree. There are those who act like that. But then there are those who are very genuine, who really want to connect and who really want to have a relationship with those here in the diaspora. But I'm not taking away with what you're saying. But at the same time, we got to acknowledge that this is humans' behavior that we dealing with. These are humans' behavior. You know what I'm saying? And that's that. Yes.
Let me show you this real quick, too. And I'm not making mockery, so I don't think I'm making mockery. Brother seems pretty intelligent, probably, old school with white people and stuff. When you talk, like this, I'm telling you, he go up and say, he sees Shakria. Oh, Shakria, how are you? I like you very much. Shakria was like, all right, I need to get my nails done. I need to get my hair done. She go like, girl, that nigga, you see how he talk? And all she wanted the bag from him. That's the reality. And again, that is a result, my brother. All I say again, that's the result of white supremacy who's done that to our people. And the tentacles has reached, globally, brother.
Are you telling me that the reason that women want men for money is because of white supremacy?
That's right. That's exactly who taught them. Who been their teacher? What's your name? What's your last name? What's your name, brother?
What? My name? What difference? Why does that make a difference to you?
I can't ask your name, brother. What's your name, brother?
What, man? You don't need to know my personal first name.
What's your name? We're going to call you Brian. You wearing your slave master name. Brian Jones. That's suspended with slave. You dress like your slave master. I put you next to a white man named Jack, and you got on your Levi's or your Jabos or whatever you wear, Tommy Hill things. He got on it. You look just like the white man. You got his name. You talk with good diction just like him. You know what I'm saying? And so the white man been your teacher. He been your master. You know what I'm saying? He been your Lord and Savior, the white man. And so that's messed us up.
Well, let me ask you this: if you hate the white man so much, and why are you speaking the white man's language? You talking about the white man's clothing when you probably sitting here wearing the same clothing that I'm wearing. You're not making any sense. Come on, man. Come on with this. Come on with this.
Hold on.
Man, come on with this 19.
Hold on.
White man.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on, y'all. One at a time.
Okay, he said, I speak English. Let me speak. They born America, huh? Doris, five. That would. So I just said, I just spoke in my dick. You understood what I just said? You don't. So I gotta come down and speak Master Jim language to you because you don't understand it. Don't say why I speak.
Why would I want to learn that language? Nobody speaks it besides one group in the world. It's a useless language. You wasted all.
Okay, brother. I'm gonna have to go ahead and get somebody else up here. But I appreciate you coming through. All right, I'm gonna get somebody else up here that want to come in. All right, thank you, brother. All right, let me Hey, Peace, how you doing? Who is that? I can't hear you. Okay, can't you go out and come back in? Because I can't hear you. Yeah, go.
I apologize. I don't mean to offend the brother. I love you, brother. Let me take you out. Take you to the African restaurant. I used to fool for or something because you gotta get that out. We gotta get the exercise, you brother.
Okay. I see somebody else that want to come in. Okay. So, I'm trying to see if somebody else want to come in. All right, but yeah, that totally went left. That went totally left. But the whole thing is, we cannot just use that as an excuse. We can't say, well, because those African people don't like us, we shouldn't be calling ourselves African. It's almost like you still trying to seek validation. All right, here's somebody coming in. Peace, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, Tiffany?
I'm doing fine. How you doing there?
Oh yeah, I'm doing great. I'm enjoying the show. I'm enjoying the dialogue between you and the host. Some parts that I can hear from the guy that you have on the phone.
Okay.
I have a question for him.
Okay.
Now, I see he said he's been going back and forth to Africa for like about roughly around 25 years. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right, brother. That's right. 25 years. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Now, with your journeys, what have you done as far as like getting the people of Africa to be like, one with us brothers in America, and how has that worked in those 25 years in us mending those little tensions that we have between each other, those misconceptions about Black Americans, and and our misconceptions about them.
Well, what I've done in Atlanta, I brought the brothers in Africa. They helped us with mass incarceration, reentry circles, help with after school programs for our children. A lot of children today, we had an after school program where Africans came in and helped and talk about African culture, African dance. And a lot of these young people didn't go to jail, work with the gangs, we fed the homeless, we built houses for people, we helped, did a lot of work in the community together as one family in Atlanta and in Chicago. And
So there's people that came from Africa that come over here and do work in the after school programs.
Yeah, we had an after school program. I had an after school program myself. and they help. In fact, you can come see this for yourself. But we're gonna put you to work. February 22nd, get up there to Chicago, Douglas Park. I'll be speaking. We're gonna put you to work, so you can see for yourself. What skills you got? We'll put you to work. What skills you got?
No, I'm not in Chicago. I'm in Los Angeles. I'm in, Crenshaw District. So, it's like the blackest thing in like Los Angeles.
What skills you got? We're gonna fly you up there. What skills you got to put you on recruit you? What skills you got? We need you.
I know how to work the pallet jack and everything. I know how to do a data entry, inventory, bookkeeping, things like that. But I was wondering because it's a lot of people, because I know Black Americans at one time was putting Africa at the forefront, especially through the means of hip hop. And it was all about the motherland Africa and everything like that.
Black Americans, we ain't put ourselves in here, but we ain't put no African on the forefront. What is happening? What you been watching?
Well, no. Well, see, the thing is,
put white folks in the forefront. You put Master Jim at the forefront. We never put Africa in the forefront.
Well, nobody else really was rooting for Africa as much as Black Americans.
Listen, you talking to the champ of Africa. That's myself. I'm the greatest of all time. So like a butterfly sting, like you just can't make no statement like that. Damn well we ain't put no African no forefront. Don't say it again.
Hold on now. You got to think about hip hop like the Native Tongues and Brand Nubian. We was all about putting Africa out there, like we was all one and the same. You know what I'm saying? It was like more of a Pan-African vibe in hip hop at one time. Especially like in the late 80s.
Hold on, brother.
NWA put Africa in front. There's a little something about a nigga like me. Bitches ain't shit for the holes and trick when they put Africa at the forefront. African men don't talk about Africa like that. Don't say the African people put at the forefront. Who else you got? Lil Wayne? Smoking, drinking syrup?
No. I was talking about like the Native Tongues, and I was talking about like a Tribe Called Quest. Yeah. What is it? De La Soul? It was like, people want to reconnect with Africa.
Hold on, one at a time. Go ahead.
Are you talking to me?
That was so good. That was 40 years ago. You got all the negative rappers, and you got a few that was back, and they killed. Them people loved Africa. We on the rise then, brother. That's why crack came out. That's why.
Yeah, but see, okay. Marcus Garvey came to America. Marcus Garvey came to America and created the RBG flag in America, in New York City. We have to be down with that because he couldn't do it in Jamaica. They really shunned him in Jamaica. And then after he got kicked out of America, he ran for be a politician out there in Jamaica and failed. He lost against somebody else. It was a white guy.
He lost in America too. He beat the boys, and you Foundation Black Americans went to the white man running to go tell him.
But see, you gotta stand. Marcus Garvey, he made his name in America because we really was riding for that. You know, even Malcolm
Hold on,
X's
brother.
mother was a
Hold on, brother.
Garveyite.
What would you say? Go ahead. What was you saying now, brother?
No, I was saying Malcolm X's mother was his parents was Garveyites. One
Yeah.
of them, yeah, one of his parents was from the Caribbean. I'm not too sure where, but his father ended up getting murdered by the Ku Klux Klan and thrown on the train tracks. And you know, his mother basically went insane after that, and they both were Garveyites, and him being a real good stronghold in America and fighting for black people, you know, he can't got all those lessons though, but you know, Garvey wasn't able to establish those lessons until he got into America, and then he made himself a stronghold over here, and that's what really propelling his name out in the world right now is because his work he did in America, but he couldn't do that work without those black and proud black Americans, because around the time it was a song that says every nation has a flag except the coon representing the blacks in America. So now he devised that flag to connect all people from the diaspora. But the thing is, not too many people from foreign lands is thinking on that same tip, and that's what's making a lot of black Americans basically draw the line in the sand. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right. Hold on, brother. What you want to say?
I got to dismiss that case with prejudice too. Don't say it again no more. I was in the UNI, the divisional president. I know Marcus Garvey's son. Marcus Garvey created the Universal Negro Improvement Association in 1914 in Jamaica. When he first created, he was coming to build a trade school in Jamaica, like Booker T. Washington had in Tuskegee. When he got organized, UNIA was consisted of many black people, Caribbean black people, brothers from Africa, Honduras. There was so many chapters all across the world. So the whole world, black people, Negroes of the world, we call it, they helped make the UNIA. It was not just Black America. This was the headquarters because he came there and organized it. And he stayed here because, and what made him stay here is because of the red hot summer of 1919, while I was being lynched and killed. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 21. So we need the most help here. That's why he stayed here and helped. But the Universal Negro Affiliation had people all over the world. Jamaica had chapters. You know what I'm saying? London, England had chapters. Panama had chapters. They would take the Negro world into Africa. And they would, and the little boys on the ship would read it and recite it and go back and take it to the villages. So it spread worldwide. He had worldwide support for the Universal Negro Improvement Association in Africa. And he didn't come with the flag. There were several Caribbeans and other people helped him. Henrietta Ben Davis, she helped him. His wife, Amy Jakes Garvey, you know, say Amy Ashwood, a Caribbean, saved his life. They got ready to shoot a Negro, FBA, that tried to shoot Marcus Garvey, and a Caribbean self jumped in front of a bullet. I got this best that one courage too, brother. Let's try it over. That ain't what happened. So what's your next argument? Why you want to be divided? Call up Master Jim on freeway and see what else he got for you.
Okay.
Don't be like that, brother.
I'm just saying, you saying all about being divisive. That's not true. The UNI was made for so many different. It was Caribbean. There were so many people. So you can't say that it's black people that did that. That's more than true. Nasheed, King Leopold, King Leopold, Nasheed, Hitler, ate his own people. Pimping. So
wow. Okay. Now I'm gonna put it to you on a spiritual level, right? Now, here's a main difference between basically Black Americans and basically foreigner Black people, melanated people. Well, when I'm out in the public, right, like earlier, I remember I went to this one food place, and it was a group of nurses, and one of them happened to be, she very seemingly to be from another land, looks like from the continent of Africa, and she didn't bother to like even look my way or dress me at all. But usually when I in presence of a fellow Black American, you know, in a lot of situations, they usually go out their way to, like, you know, address me and say hi, how you doing? You know, it's real courteous because I'm from the Crenshaw district in Los Angeles, and you know, we often do that. You know, as territorial it is out here, we have to basically respect boundaries and be respectful, because you know, you never know who you're going to come across. So, and with that, you know, we always had a long history in being at a disadvantage, especially when there's only a minimal amount of Black people in a certain area. So we have to basically be on call with each other, and you know, be you know what I'm saying, be courteous of each other, because you never know when we're going to need each other in certain situations. And you know, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the problem is we need a lot of foreigners to be on that same type of strategy. You know, they can't just come over here and be buddy buddy to white people because you know you scared of going back home or getting kicked out and all this other stuff, because we, you know, as Black Americans, we really don't have a choice. You know, they can't kick us out anywhere because, you know, it's like where exactly is you gonna send us? You know, it's like our genetics are really like traced down here, and then the African genetics we do have is so mixed in. It's like where are we going to go, because certain countries in Africa wasn't even established when they brought us over here. And we have to delve into the history of people like Estevanico, who was actually he was a black explorer with African he was an African descent, but he was a slave to the Spanish, and they actually overcame and they did the rebellion, and then it was only him and five other people left, and they explored the what is known to be the southwestern area of America, all throughout New Mexico. And and it was believed to said that he ended up dying, but yeah, so our genetics here runs deep, and Estevanico had black ancestry. You get what I'm saying? So it's like being proud to be Black American isn't dissing or disrespecting the African genealogy, but we have to differentiate ourselves from everybody else, because we can't have Africans coming from, you know, the continent and then come over here and then, you know, saying thinking, you know, they have like real history tied to here, but really they just second generation Nigerians that was born here, you know. So that's all I have to say, though. I'm going to give the
Okay,
mic to the next person.
I want to say something real quick. I want to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
Why don't we have the same attitude when the Europeans come into our community and want to take over what we have and make profit off of our, culture? Why don't we have the same attitude towards those individuals like we do for the Black immigrants? I'm just asking.
No, 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 no. Well, see, the thing is, we do have that attitude. We always have that attitude. We don't like how the industry is promoting Black people and how it's out there, because you got to understand, when hip hop first started, it was underground automatically. You know, like it wasn't even in pop culture. It hip hop didn't even hit radio until like the 80s. You know, so when when we did it, you know, we was all up, we wasn't thinking about business at the end of the day. You know, we was thinking about just making music and hopefully it'll be around because people thought it was a fad. And then it just started becoming bigger and bigger and better. And now it becomes so much part of popular culture, it got the big corporations with their big money, and they give you an illusion of inclusion. So yes, we as a whole, we don't like as what is happening out there, but I know that they do use certain people from foreign backgrounds to come over here and then promote degeneracy, like Shade Room that was by a foreigner. Q from World Star, who passed away, he was actually a foreigner too. And it seemed like you promote the worst of Black Americans, and then when it's like a Nigerian Redding, it's no longer Black anything. Or if it's somebody from Nigeria that was doing something real good or positive, it's no longer Black no more. It's just strictly Nigerian. But then, when something they promote some degeneracy, what I'm saying, they don't chunk
Can
it
I say
into,
something to you real quick?
okay, it's supposed to be a specific person.
Hold on,
Oh, this is a
let
Haitian
me say something.
person.
Let
They
me say
did
something to
this.
you as far as that goes. What about the Black people in here that go about exploiting other Black people? I mean, because let's talk about Hollywood. What's it called? Hollywood Talks or Hollywood?
Hmm.
Yeah, and then you got the one with the Neighborhood Talks, right? You got Jason Lee, who is from America, right? But he get a kick out of exploiting Black people. Um, let's talk about the Breakfast Club, right?
Mr. Farrakhan in that too. He exploit Black people too.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, but you gotta understand, even with Black Americans, we have our own set of tunes.
hold on, brother. What's going on?
Okay.
I wanted to say to him is that two things. Your baby mama wake up sometimes don't speak to you. Your mama don't. My mama sometimes I say good morning, mom. She say shut up. What's so good about it? And when you saw that subject, you didn't speak to her. So even when y'all was speaking to each other, you up there mad. You didn't speak up. Guess why you listen to Rita Sheet, tell her and all sorts of stuff. You had that in your mind. You know what I'm saying? Listen to that nonsense. You didn't speak to her either. So we can't sit there and say that. And I can't go right now, right there on Lulu Block, right now, and we both money. They might shoot me over there. 1,000 times I go over there right now. So you just so stop putting this xenophobic crap on Africa when you know we not all as King Leopold the She says, we not all on cold right here in America. So stop putting you on the highest standard. You're not even putting yourself on, but you want this the whole King Leopold mess with pimp you, hoodwink. How you run them up. Ran y'all crazy. Listen to that nonsense.
But
Okay.
look though, listen. I'm from the Crenshaw district. In the Crenshaw district, we have a certain section called Leimert Park. Now, Leimert Park is like the blackest section of all Los Angeles. There's nothing blacker than Leimert Park. Even in Leimert Park, we still have many different people from the diaspora. We got the Jamaicans there, we got the Africans, we on Degnan, and they got the Jamaican spots, and we got people, certain Africans selling food and vending food out in the park, as well as Black Americans as well. So, we always learned how to coexist and everything like that. But when it comes to like things like really getting to our background, every group of people do it. Even the Nigerians, even the South Africans, even the Jamaicans. They have different specific specified backgrounds, and there's nothing wrong with saying we have our own specified backgrounds that only ties into us and only us. Even if you want to have a Pan-African mind state, even that, you cannot deny your genealogy, you know what I'm saying, where you from, because a person from Jamaica gonna say he's Jamaican, a person from South Africa gonna say he's South African. Nigerian hasn't been around that very long. The Nigerian is, we probably have grandparents that's older than Nigeria. So even they say I'm Nigerian, but those are only splinters of a whole different group of people. But they all been mixed in and blended in. It's like, one person could be from have five different tribes in his bloodline.
Yeah, and that's us. We got multiple tribes in our bloodline.
We
Yeah.
Yeah.
A Jamaican don't have to say African because guess what? Master Jim was out of Jamaica, so Jamaicans know they out. You don't find one out of 54 countries in Africa. You don't see Nigeria out. Because Nigeria, because they know they out. You over here with Master Jim, so Master Jim won't accept you as American, so you have to say you're black. Master Jim never accepted you. That's why you have to say that. And he talk about how everybody here work together. Yeah, remember Malcolm talked about the house Negro and the field Negro. House Negro loved his master, adored his master. Your master got sick. He said, "We sick, boss." You know, and so you have the field Negro hate his master. All black people are not working together. You ain't got 1%. You ain't got a half of a percent of black people all working together. If you did, you can have some grocery stores, you can have some farmland, you can have something. Where's the FBA grocery store? Where's the FBA clinic at? Huh?
Well, actually, out here we do have some black farmers out here, and it's like two of them that I actually go to that sell fruit. Actually, tomorrow Sunday they're going to be out there in the Leimert Park area, and one of them is on Slauson. She used to vend in Leimert Park, but now she's in Slauson. She been having good fruits and vegetables.
Some people like the FBA. They call themselves probably Negroes of color for Africa. They ain't say the FBA. They're saying what John says is so much better. So we got to get something so it's going to promote this hysteria and xenophobic nonsense that the white man's paid him to do. You know what I'm saying? Get a check from the white man, the slave master, promote unity and build something. He spent 6 days a week. Oh, Nigerians don't like us. And you can't get along with baby mama.
Hold on, but what about all those? Look, it's 2025. 100 years ago, in the 1920s, it was a Great Depression in America, meaning it was white folks jumping out of 12-story buildings, landing head first to their death because of the stock market, because they lost all their money, because money was draining out. But during that same time, in a whole lot of different areas in America, black Americans was building cities and building their own towns, like Seneca Village, what is now Central Park in New York. That was called Seneca Village. That was a black town. There was another part in Manhattan that was called Land of the Blacks. That was specifically a black town. We already know about Rosewood. We already know about the Tulsa, Oklahoma, Greenwich, which is the Black Wall Street. But then we also had a Black Bruce Beach out here in Los Angeles. Throughout the whole time, we had different. We was having towns that was flourishing, and black people was jealous of us. And that's basically, those were FBA people building that.
Okay.
No one's denying the majestic black man in America, our accomplishment. No one's denying that. No one's denying that. And we are proud people. We should not be proud of our culture and our achievements here. We're not saying that. But you don't have the vast African. So I'm recruiting you. I'm gonna teach you some good things. I'm gonna have you on call with us, unite us. Let's up here whining all day about they don't like us. I'll show you how I'm just gonna fight you. Are you married? Are you married?
No, I'm not married.
I'm gonna get you a nice African wife. What's your name?
Oh my goodness, a nice African wife. Hey, listen, I do not want to eat with my hands like a lot of those African dishes I
Hey,
see.
hold on. Hold on, brother. Let me stop you right there. Because in the South we eat with our hands. If you ever seen your grandma eating them collard greens, mix them damn cornbread and collard greens together and put in her mouth, she eat with her hands.
She getting on me.
What's your name, brother?
Hey, I feel you. But look though, I mean,
Go by
I done
LC
seen some
Dunn.
dishes that was real
Go by
slimy
LC
though.
Dunn.
Give me a first name.
Yeah.
Give me a first name. What's your first name?
I'm LC.
Huh?
I'm LC.
Obi?
LC.
Kobe. Oh, we gotta get you. That's Master Jet. That's a slave name. We'll get your nice African name, get your nice African wife. And what I want you to do now, when you wake up in the morning at 9 a.m., I want you to drive to Reef and She's house and slap the shit out of her. All right?
All right, then.
Wow.
Okay, then, LC. I'm about to go ahead and go to the next person. But I appreciate you coming
All
on
right,
here.
thanks for having me.
All right, you're welcome. All right, peace. All right, brother. You ready?
What's up, Tiffany?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. I just first want to say respect to you, sister. I've been listening to your channel for a while, and I like what you are doing. In respects to the black world. Respect to that other brother who was speaking as well. I don't know who he is. I really don't, because I don't see his
Oh,
face.
okay, so the brother that was up here was brother
No,
Ngozi
no,
and the
no. The
other
Pan
gentleman,
African brother. Yeah, the Pan African brother.
brother Kamara.
Yeah, respect to brother Kamara as well. He seemed to have a very broad view of the world. So respect to him as well. The brothers say that the Africans eat with their hands. Ask him what are African Americans eat fried chicken with. Because he seemed to think that we the only people who eat with our hands. But needless to say, I would say this. I say respect to the brother for clearing up some things, the Pan African brother, for clearing up some things about Marcus Garvey and letting the brother know that Marcus Garvey went to many different places before he came to America. So I think that it's important for him to be educated on Marcus Garvey and the fact that Marcus Garvey went, through South America and also went to England before he actually came to America. So I think that's important to let him know that. Tiffany, are you frozen? Oh, the sister is frozen. Oh man, she's frozen. Okay. I'll try to come back then since you're frozen. Oh man, it's too bad. There she go.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can see you. Okay, brother. What was you saying now?
Where did you hear me stop? Where did you hear me stop?
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Hold on, hold on.
Yeah, yeah. So we was talking. He was talking about Marcus Garvey, and he was trying to correct the other brother and what Marcus Garvey did in South
Mhm,
America and England. So I'm
mhm,
glad that he was able to clear that information up because that's important for our people. And he said that the Caribbean and well, he said that the foreigners bringing degeneracy into African American culture. I'm sorry he feels that way. I'm sorry he feels that way.
excuse me, brother. Before you continue, where you from?
I'm from the Bahamas.
Oh, you from the Bahamas. Oh, dope. Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Well,
we listening to you all over the world. We listening to you all over the world.
oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah,
Much love
yeah,
to the Bahamas. All right, go
yeah,
ahead, continue,
yeah.
brother.
So I'm sorry he feels that we bring in degeneracy to his country. But ain't they about to celebrate like Big Meech coming out of prison? Like, wasn't he like selling drugs on the streets of America? They're about to have a big Meech celebration, but we responsible for bringing degeneracy. I think that's unfair to put that on us,
Uh-huh.
because everyone have a turn in doing bad things, not just foreigners. Everyone have a turn in doing that. But for you, sister, like I say, I am watching, and I'm gonna let the community where I come from and digital community know what you are doing. I would like to invite you and the other brother as well to something that we do called the Bitter Medicine Podcast. We go every Saturday nights from brothers and sisters from all over the world, America, the Caribbean, and Africa. We talk and we have conversations with one another, and we are on
Uh-huh.
YouTube. Just check us out. You and the Pan African brother who was speaking just a minute ago, come check us out and come sit down and have a conversation with us. Have a conversation with us, sister, because I appreciate what you are doing, and I think that you are doing an excellent job. So I just really just wanted to let you know that, sister, you and the other brother. So if when you all have time, come check us out at the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Come talk with your brothers outside of America rather than just listening to people talk about us. Come sit down and have a conversation with us. That'll be what it is. But like I say, I just wanted to let you know we appreciate you from all around the world, sister. All right, I'll leave
Oh,
it there.
all right, thank you, and I appreciate you for coming through. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hey, brother, thank you, brother, and reach out for me, brother, from Muhammad. You guys can call me at 708-631-4123. 708-631-4123. I'm the newly crowned king of the Mali Empire of the West. You all can come and work with us, work to build Africa. And anybody listening to me out there, if you see any brothers talking that, FBA, hate Africa thing, slap them 2-3 times, tell them to go sit down. So All right, don't kill them. You don't want to hurt them too bad. Just slap the taste out of them now. And you can pimp slap your reading. He'll be all right. Then stop talking that nonsense. Just backhand him a couple times. And then buy him ice cream. Tell him to go sit down somewhere. Give him 2 scoops of sugar on top. Make him sit down somewhere. All right?
All right then. All right, brother. Brother, I appreciate you coming through. Thank you, Chief Kamara. And shout out to brother Ngozi. I know Ngozi had to go, and he was supposed to be gone a long time ago, but I appreciate you for sticking around long enough, brother Ngozi, wherever you are.
Yeah. All right, Tiffany. Well, check me out tomorrow, and check me out tomorrow at the 1:00. We're gonna be on talking about that. You know, I say this to everybody. It's very dangerous what you're doing to sit there and teach that type of hate other people. I don't know how some of y'all call yourselves Christian or Muslim. You are hating a race of people like that. Now, racist negative comments that they're making about Africans. You couldn't do it about Jewish people. You couldn't do it about the homosexual community. So I'm saying that our chief Kamar is no longer be tolerated. I'm not going to tolerate that type of disrespect of no black people. I love my Caribbean brothers. I love our African brothers. And I love our black people in America with all my heart. Let's be about love and unity and coming together and doing something. You want to be proud, you can build something, start a business, support a black-owned business. First of all, reconcile things with your baby mama. Right, once you FBA delineated, don't even get along with your baby mama and your children. You ain't seen your children right. You ain't been to the school or volunteer. We got a lot of work to do to Camp America if you want to make it holistic and healthy for our people. So you don't have time to your African brothers and hate them. Those are your brothers and sisters. We're gonna love each other. Despite what Mr. Tripnachi and Ados and all other people say. And then, what's the girl name? She loved that white woman. I want her to.
Yvette Carnell?
Yeah, Yvette, the same way you love your white lover. I'm not knocking the LBG, whatever, LBC community. Well, same way you love your white lover, love your black people like that, Yvette. If you love that white woman, don't you marry too? So love your black people. Same way, give it the same, at least give it the same energy, Yvette. You know? How you love Amy. All right? Oh, you're probably like that. Thank you, Sister Tiffany. I love you.
I love you
God
too.
bless you.
Thank you.
All
I
right,
appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Night, everybody.
All right. Good night, brother. All right. Whew. Now that was fun. That was very fun. I appreciate everybody tuning in, watching. I appreciate the support. And there was some people I had to remove out the chat, man, because some of y'all just came on here to troll and be disrespectful, man. You know what I'm saying? So thank you, James. I really appreciate it, James. Thank you so much. Thank you for the super chat sticker as well. I appreciate it. But yeah, I had to get rid of some people out the chat because they was starting to get a little too damn disrespectful. You know what I mean? You know, like with the antagonism and, just saying little random shit. So I had to get rid of some folks out the chat. But outside of that, though, I really appreciate you guys tuning in and listen. And I'm sorry for the audio. For those of you that couldn't really hear Ngozi earlier, he had some type of muffling going on in his phone. So I'm sorry y'all could not hear everything, but hopefully y'all got the information that was needed. And I'm glad that I was able to get him on the speakerphone so you guys can hear him. And the brother that was speaking just a while ago, that was Brother Chief Kamara, who is also from Chicago area as well. One of the good brothers that I know. Yeah, very prominent brother, very active or whatnot. So, and I just want to say this again. It's not about, we're not saying that we don't love who we are here in America. You know what I'm saying? We not saying that we don't love our people. And I think that this is why I can't roll with the FBA and the ADOS community. I really can't. Because if you telling me that in order for me to love myself as a black woman, I got to reject everybody else just so I can focus on everybody else here in America, I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? I cannot reject other black people from other places just so I can love black people here in this country. That's what I mean by set tripping. Because we're talking about connecting with our roots. You know what I'm saying? And I will hopefully one day get the opportunity to go and travel to the continent and learn more about the ancestral history. Nobody's saying that you got to go over there and move to Africa and live in Africa. No. And nobody say you got to go and seek validation from everybody there either. No. And that's where the misconception comes in. People think that you got to seek validation from the people in the continent. No. It's not about them. It's about connecting with your roots. That's what it's about. And what we all have in common as the American in the diaspora and those in Britain, right? And those in Canada, we got blacks in Canada. And also you got the blacks in South America. What we all have in common is our African ancestral roots. And if we studied by African Americans, there were African Americans who went to places like Liberia, Sierra Leone. Okay? Liberia is basically, those people are a descendant of African Americans who were enslaved and liberated Africans. The people of Sierra Leone are the descendant of the liberated Africans, the Afro-Caribbeans, and African Americans. And you got a tribe there called the Creole people. Okay? And then when you go to, right, and Mexico too. Mexico got blacks who are descendant of African Americans, Dominican Republican, which they call Somalia. Yes, was it Somalia or Somalia? Yes, Somalia people who are the descendant of African Americans. You got the Moroccan people that are descendant of African American that's in Trinidad. I mean, it's a lot. You have to really dig deep into this history. You got to dig deep into it. So you got to be careful saying that, oh, these people do not have foundational African American or foundational black people. You don't know that. You don't know a lot about everybody's genetics. You don't know what they had, because the moment our people was taken from the continent of Africa, right, they were dispersed. They were dispersed to different places. Some of them were sent to the islands. Some were sent to the Americas. And there was some that was sent to Canada, in Nova Scotia, Canada. Some was over there in Britain. So you'll be surprised, you're related more than you think. You may have a cousin that's in Jamaica. You may have a cousin in Trinidad. You may have a cousin in Barbados. You may have a cousin in Senegal, in Nigeria. So, but again, you're right. For those of you that came up here, you're right. We are different when it comes to cultural practice. But guess what? We have a subculture here in America as well. We have a subculture. We have a cultural practice in the South that's different from the cultural practice in the Midwest and the East Coast and West Coast. But all I'm telling you, and I'm going to say this till I cannot breathe anymore, until my final days, your roots goes back to Africa. Yes, we have an admixture. That is definitely true. That is 100% true. We have an admixture. But a vast majority of our genetics is African. If you're going to talk about slavery, you must go back to the root. You must go back to your roots. You got to go back there. If you're not going to go back to the roots, if you're not going to go back to Africa, then you might as well leave slavery out your conversation. You might as well not even talk about it. Dr. John Henry Clark said this. He said, if you do not bring Africa in the focus in the relationship to the people of the world, then you are out of order. You might well talk about a child without talking about his mother and father. And that's a fact. And he also mentioned that the only difference between us and the Caribbeans and those in Latin America, South America, he said that the only difference is the fact that we were dropped off at different location. That's the only difference. That's the only difference. And I'ma also say this: a lot of y'all do not value Black history like you think. A lot of Black folks do not value Black history like that. If you really cared about Black history, you will be very adamant enough to stay on top of it and keep the information alive. Y'all have been putting up fights to make sure that the information are taught in schools. But I'm going to say this one more time. I'm not denying the culture, the practice that we have. I love my Southern roots, although I was born in the Midwest, but I grew up in the South. I love my Southern roots, and I would not deny my Southern roots. But I would say this: the South catch a lot of flack from people up north, from people from the East Coast, and from the people from the West Coast. The South catch a lot of flack. The South don't get enough credit for a lot of things. I will say that. I would say that as a Black person that was born and raised in America, that the South is more than likely to be discriminated more than any other region. The Blacks in the South are more than likely face discrimination from other Black people from elsewhere. I would say that. So no, that's why I would not say I'm a foundational Black American. I would not say I'm an ADOS because I know the reality behind this. I know the information. I didn't study for a long period of time. So this ain't something new to me. Okay? You can't tell somebody who studied information and who have studied DNA tests or took DNA tests that they need to all of a sudden to delineate themselves from identifying what is a part of their genetics. I'm not going to do that to accommodate anyone. You know, because then that means that I got to jump on the bandwagon. I'm not jumping on no bandwagon. I'm not going to start set tripping. If you understand what pan means all. Okay? So pan does not just include the Africans, it's also including Americans and also those in the Caribbeans. And nobody saying that we got a kumbaya with everybody. That's not the reality. You're not going to get along. If you study psychology, sociology, and learn about human behavior, you know that that's not the reality. Everybody is not going to get along with each other. That is the fucking reality. That is the absolute reality. And that's what Brother Ngozi was trying to say. That was what Brother Kamara was trying to say. Everybody is not going to get along, but we cannot sit up here and be disrespectful, especially for those who don't really study history thoroughly and you just jumping on bandwagons. And you're not really taking the time out to say, you know what, let me do the practical research. Let me do the homework assignment. Let me pay homage and respect to these people who have paved the way for us here in America. There are so-called foundational Black Americans who's going around saying Dr. King was an agent. Dr. King was a sellout. Now, if you saying that, you don't appreciate history. You know, yeah, but I'm not gonna ride the wave. I'm not gonna sit here and just jump on bandwagons. I can't do it. I can't do it. You know, it's too many people that's dealing with the identity crisis. I can't ride the wave. I am what I am. I am an African American woman, and that's what I'm gonna be. And science and history go hand in hand. Science complement history. History complements science. So without science, you won't have any history. Without science, you won't have history. And I encourage people to really study science just as much as they study history. Hmm. But let me look up something real quick. Let's go into the Fulani American that Brother Ngozi was talking about. Okay. He brought up something that was very important. So I want to go into the Fulani Americans real quick. All right, so we're gonna go down here where it says the Fula Americans, Fulani Americans, or Fube Americans. The first Fulani people who were forcefully expatriated to United States from the slave trade came from several parts of West and Central Africa, right? So many Fule came from places of Guinea, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and Cameroon, all right? And it says recent Fulani arrivals immigrated to the United States during the 1990s and now make a significant portion of the Muslim community across America. Okay, so the first group of Fulani people were forcefully brought to the United States due to the slave trade from West and Central Africa, from Guinea, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and Cameroon. Okay, and why this is important? Because why is that important? Because the Fulani people were one of the first tribes that was brought here to this land. And a lot of them, I would say 15 to like 30% of Africans that were brought here were Muslims. Okay? They were Muslims. So more than likely, you may have some ancestors that was Muslims as well. For those who have a problem with people who practicing Islam and things like that. We are consist of multi-ethnic tribes, as brother mentioned before. The Fulani, the Hausa, the Mandinka, the Wolof, the Asante, the Iwe, the Igbo, the Yoruba. It's a long list of tribes that we come from. That makes us who we are. Jacqueline Phillips, what are you all talking about? We as Black Americans use black because it is the opposite of white. What are you talking about? I'm gonna tell you what, you missed out on the show. Maybe you just coming in. I'm gonna just encourage you to go and study history. All right. You can say what you want, but don't come over here with that coercion. Okay. Don't come over here trying to force your belief system on me or anybody else. So you missed out on the information that was presented on this platform because you just got here. All right. So I'm going to encourage you to go study your information before you start talking. All right. But, anyways, you know, we are consist of multiple tribal people. And by us being consist of multiple tribes, that makes us who we are. So the point is, you could be American all day long, but you cannot deny your genetics. That the genetics that makes you mostly who you are. You could be 20% British. You could be 10% British. You could be 5% Native American. You can be 7% Native American, but your genes overall is mostly African. And that's a-okay. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't take no bleach and wipe it out your system. If you drink some bleach, you're gonna die. There's nothing you can do about it. It is what it is. That's a part of you. So whether you like it or not, but I understand where that's coming from because of the trauma that our ancestors had to experience. Because the fact that we weren't taught a lot of information in schools about ourselves. Because this cultural influence of the Western society is why we don't really want to connect with those African roots. Because they like, look, we created our own identity when our ancestors already created the identity for us, but we just don't want to embrace what they created for us. But okay. And I know some of you saying, well, you want everybody to be from Africa. No, it ain't about I want everybody to be from Africa. It's what it is. It's your genetics. Whether you identify with it or not. You can call yourself indigenous all day, but I bet you that African gene is more dominant than your indigenous gene. And as Brother Kamara mentioned on the phone, we talk about people not liking us. We don't like ourselves. We don't value ourselves. We treat each other any kind of way. If we look at the condition of our neighborhoods, we see so much criminal activity happen. We see people getting doped out. We see people walking around here just losing their minds. All right, hold on. Hold on, y'all. Hello? All right, I'm sorry about that. I had to take care of a phone call, but and it's not about picking a side. At the end of the day, you are who you are. That's the whole point I'm trying to get at. Brother Sahil, I like what Ngozi said about Foundation African American too. Shout out to Ngozi. I appreciate Ngozi for coming through. I appreciate him. I enjoy Ngozi on here. Yeah, although I couldn't hear everything that Ngozi was saying, but I do really appreciate it. I appreciate everybody that was coming through. I really do. Wow. Wow, this was an interesting conversation. I mean, although some of the things that went left, but it was very interesting. It was very interesting. I mean, this I guess I have to do more of this more often, but I have to find a very good time to like, you know, get more people engaged like this. Like this is like really it was really fun. It was really fun. I didn't expect for it to go this long though, but hey, that that's how I get when the conversation get really good. Overall, it was very productive. Shout out to the people that came on and showed some respect. I appreciate that. I thank you guys for being very respectful. For those of you that's just coming in, you have to catch the video from the very beginning. If you can, I don't expect y'all to watch all of it. You know what I mean? Because I've been on here for about 3 hours, so I don't expect for you guys to watch all of it. But like, just if you want to watch a little bit here and there, then you can do so. But I must say that it was fun. It was quite fun. It was very fun. Yeah, it was very fun. Very, 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 very fun. It was. So shout out to Brother Kamara, shout out to Brother Ngozi, shout out to myself, shout out to the chat, shout out to the people that came in. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you guys coming through. Shout out to everybody. You know what I mean? But yeah, let's not neglect our history. Shout out to Miss Jackie. Thank you, Miss Jackie, for coming through. I really appreciate you, sister. Yeah. But let's not neglect our history. Let's not neglect our ancestors and what they had to offer and what they've been through. I really appreciate all that our people have done. Even if there was some things that I may disagree with, I really appreciate them because they have really put a phenomenal work in for us. They have paved the way for us. And if I wouldn't have it any other way. If I was to be born again, I would be born black again because it's an experiment. It's beautiful. I mean, it's nothing like being black. It's nothing like being of African descent. It's nothing like being a creolized African descended person. Thank you, brother, for coming through. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. It's nothing like being black. I'm going to tell you that right now. Black is beautiful. And black people, we all over the place. We all over. And I would love to have a platform where I'm connecting with blacks throughout the diaspora. I would really love to have black people in America, black people from the Caribbean, black people from Africa, black people from Great Britain being on the platform. We all have a conversation, an intelligent conversation, a respectful conversation, a decent one. I would love that because that way we can share our differences and we can share our commonality. You know what I'm saying? I really love for that to happen. I really do. But I wouldn't have it no other way. I still love my people. It's just certain people I don't fuck with. I don't deal with. But I still got love for my own people. I still got love for myself. I still have love for my community. It's just sometimes you can't get along with everybody. You can't deal with everybody. And that's a fact. And if I didn't really care about our people, I would not be doing what I'm doing with these platforms. I would not be bringing people up here. I would not even have a dialogue with people if I did not care. You know, I had somebody accuse me of not caring about black folks. And that person know who he is. You know, and all I want is best for us. All I want is great for us. That's what I want. I want the best for us, and I want great for us as a people. That's what I want. Period. But anyways, you guys, let me go ahead and get off of here because I've been on here for a good minute, and I need to go ahead and just rest because I gotta get ready to go to work. I don't know about you guys. I don't know what y'all gotta do in the morning, but I know I gotta get ready to go work in the afternoon. So I do got a life outside of social media. Yeah, I gotta maintain, I gotta take care of myself, you know, I gotta make sure, you know, everything's good on my end. But you guys have a productive day. And if you guys want to send something to the Cash App, um, here's my Cash App information. It's matter hold on, let me see if I can post it up on here. The little banner thing. Okay, that's my little Cash App information. If you guys want to send something, because I know people been asking me about my Cash App because they want to send stuff for my Cash App or whatnot. So here it is. If you guys want to send a little something, that's cool. I appreciate that. It's no problem. Thank you so much. So yeah, that's my little Cash App information. If you guys want to send a little something. But until next time, peace and power and elevation be to all of you. And I hope you all have a productive evening. Y'all take care. Y'all be safe. Enjoy yourself. Don't get caught up in no foolishness. And I know Sunday, well, it is Sunday technically in my time. Super Bowl is taking place. And I know a lot of y'all looking forward to watching Super Bowl, watching the Philadelphia Eagles go at it with Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm quite sure that's going to be a good game. So I hope you guys have a great day or enjoy yourself. You throwing up a Super Bowl party. Enjoy yourselves. Be safe. Some of y'all party out there in New Orleans right now because that's where they're going to be playing, right in New Orleans. So I hope you guys enjoy yourself out there in New Orleans. If you traveling, have a good time. Have fun. And all that great stuff. All right. Until next time. Y'all take it easy. Y'all be safe. This your girl Tiffany, and I'm logging off. And I'll reconnect with you all later. All right. Peace. Thank you.